All right, we are live. Welcome. This is Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show. Share this out, share this out, share this out. All right, it's Friday night. Friday night for me. I'm in the west coast of the United States of America, in the state of California, and we are live with the Corpus Hermeticum Part 3. Welcome, Denise. Welcome, Brooke, my love. There is my wife. I love you, baby. She said, I'm going to put it up on the screen. She said, hi, my husband. I love you, my Kelto. I love you, my Satori. All right, guys. It is the Corpus Hermeticum Part 3. We're in Part 3, and it's actually Chapter 5 that we'll be starting on today. So I put the description in the description. You guys can see what it's about in case you're not sure, but share this out. I couldn't share it for whatever reason. As I was trying to share on Facebook, when I hit the share button, my screen even now is just sitting there, just trying to load. So I can't even share it to my own page right now. So if you guys could share this out, please do so, because for whatever reason, my computer is acting weird and I couldn't even get a few things to happen. Weirdly, I've been having issues with my computer for the last couple of days. Not quite sure what's going on. But it is having problems, and I have rebooted it and I've checked to see if there's any updates, and it's just for some reason being weird. So please share this out. My latency is also down right now. Maybe that's part of it. But like I said, please share this out because I'm not able to currently today, and I usually share it out to my homepage, and then I share it out to a couple of other pages, but I can't share it out. So please share this out, share this out, share this out. Tag some people, get them in here, and let's get going on the stuff here. Let me pull this banner down so you guys can see me there, right? Okay, so Corpus Hermeticum, and that's the end of Chapter 4. We're going to go into Chapter 5 as soon as I press play. So I'll continue trying to share this out as the night goes, but I don't know why it's not allowing me to share. It just sits there, and it's like buffing, trying to share, and it just never does. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. Weird things happening with my Wi-Fi here and my computer in the last few days, so it's bizarre. Okay, so let's just go ahead and start. Let me come back over here to the studio and make sure that we're doing this here. All right, let me pull this up into full screen. Oh, I gotta do that from over here. And boing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and pull this up in full screen, and I have to turn on, make sure that the subtitles are on, because they always default to off, so that you guys can see that, because some people won't be able to read the book. Some of you will if you're watching on a laptop or a computer on a big monitor. You'll be able to read that, but for those of you who can't, you won't be able to do that. So I'm going to put the words up on the screen so you can see them as well as hear them, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and press play, and we'll go ahead and get started. This is the Corpus Hermeticum, and we are going to be starting Chapter 5 right here as soon as I hit play, unless it goes to a commercial first, all right? So let's get started. So we'll do a sound check. You guys let me know if you can hear this. Like I said, tag everybody, get them in here, share this out, share this out, share this out. All right, let's start here, and give me a sound check. Somebody let me know you guys can hear it okay. I think I do have to turn it up, so I'll press play and find out. You guys let me know if you can hear it all right. All right, here we go.
5. A discourse of Hermes to Tat, his son, that God is invisible and entirely visible. This discourse I shall also deliver to you in full, O Tat, lest you go uninitiated in the mysteries of the God who is greater than any name. You must understand how something that seems invisible to...
Thank you, wife. Thank you, baby, for letting me know that. Thank you, Brooke. Hi, Cassie. Welcome. Yeah, tag everybody. Get them in here. Thank you, Denise, for tagging people. Who else was tagging people? Thank you, guys. Whoever's tagging people. Get them in here, man. Get everybody in here. It's Friday night. Well, Saturday if you're over in Australia. Soon I will be broadcasting on Saturday morning in Australia, because I'll be moving to Australia to be with my wife soon. We're hoping that it'll be in the next 30 days. We'll find out as time goes. I'll let you guys know. You guys will be kept apprised as to my moving out of the United States to Australia as we go. Okay, let's go ahead and start here, and continue, I should say, with the Corpus Hermeticum, Part 5, Part 3 of the Orion Rising, Chapter 5 of the book. Let's go.
The multitude will become entirely visible to you. Actually, if it were not invisible, it would not always be. Everything seen has been begotten because at some point it came to be seen. But the invisible always is, and because it always is, it does not need to come to be seen. Also, while remaining invisible because it always is, it makes all other things visible. The very entity that makes visibility does not make itself visible. What begets is not itself begotten. What presents images of everything is not present to the imagination.
See, now here, this entire segment right here, where they're talking, where they're talking right here is, and I'm sorry, I see my Wi-Fi's dipping down and probably have some latency problems there. But if you look at that, if you've read Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, the Book of the Way, the story of Lao Tzu when he was leaving to go out into the wilderness, some say to die and some say not. But I believe that was what he was doing. He decided it was his time. He was leaving the city, and he said to the guard, "Please open the gate. That I'm leaving, and I'm going to die because it's my time." And the guard said, "Please tell me, your philosophy, oh wise master, philosopher and advisor, so that I may have this and write it down and remember it." And he did, and we still have that story because of it. And this is odes of that. It smacks of the same thing, where Lao Tzu was saying, he who gropes for it will not grasp it, right? So and other things. So you see the same thing happening here, that what it's saying to you is that if you're looking for it in the physical, you won't find it there because it's not there. So the secrets to the universe are not in the physical plane. So people trying to find the land of milk and honey, and they're running around the entire earth looking for that, trying to find the fountain of youth, believing that there is water that is pouring out of some rock somewhere, that if you drink it, you will live forever. And that's not where the fountain of youth is. So everything that people are looking for from religion and from prophecy about that has come out of all of these religions around the world, they believe that they can find it in the physical plane, like the proverbial crock of gold at the end of the rainbow that everyone keeps saying. And so everyone tries to run to the end of the rainbow, and there's a crock of gold there. Well, you'll never be able to do that. So you would have to stand and then go to the person, keep going, come over to the right, over to your left. No, your left. And you're right now. It's there. It should be there somewhere. You're never going to find the crock of gold at the end of the rainbow, because it is not, in fact, at the end of the rainbow in the physical plane. That's also a metaphor like crossing Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, to get into heaven. It's the same concept. At the other end of Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, instead of being a crock of gold, it's in fact heaven. The crock of gold is the illumination. It is if you think of gold and the luster of gold, when light hits it, it illuminates. So the crock of gold was the illumination. Again, it's non-physical. So everyone's looking for things in the physical plane because they are physical minded, because they are in fact living in the flesh. And you will never find the way to heaven. You will never find the way to the promised land. You will never find peace or any of that by looking for it in the physical. It is only in the spiritual where you find these things. So here you see Hermes, beginning in chapter 5, talking the same way, that those people who are looking for something tangible in the physical are not going to find what they're looking for. So let me put this back up in full screen here, and we will continue. But think about that as you're hearing what they're talking about. So that you see that playing out in many different spiritual books and scrolls around the world throughout time. Shelley, welcome. You'll see that in the different Bibles, and it's always using metaphor, and they even tell you those highlights of let him who hath understanding reckon, say the number of the beast. That's a direct quote, except for the part where I put the word say in there. Let him who has the ears to hear, let him who has the eyes to see, let him who has the mind to know. That is the highlight, when they didn't have highlighters to tell you that this means something very important. And usually it meant almost exclusively the line that came after that or came before that. And then you hear that line meant a highlight saying this is not what it appears to be. It is ambiguous. It means in the spiritual. So those are things that you start to figure out as you're reading texts, that when they say certain key phrases, you know that they're actually speaking in a manner that it's literally nudge, nudge, wink, wink, like Santa Claus looking at you and winking with one eye and putting his finger next to his nose. It's the you're knowing, you're in the knowing, you're in the illumination. And that was, in fact, what that meant with Santa Claus, that he was saying, everyone says, oh, he was saying a secret. No, he wasn't saying it was a secret. He was saying only you can see me, because you believe in the afterlife. You believe in that, your understanding, and that's why you can see Santa Claus, because Santa Claus does not exist in the physical for people that are in the physical plane. And Santa Claus is showing you that by closing one eye and pointing at it next to your nose, with the eye being closed and only seeing out of one eye, is seeing out of the third eye. And that was what that meant when Santa Claus would do that you're seeing out of the most important eye, not seeing out of the two eyes that are physical. And that's why you're able to see Santa Claus and understand the illumination that Santa Claus was referring to, which was the same as the Christ, as the Christos, the Christ oil, the ascension. That's what Thor did, and it was also the savior character in that pantheon, in that religion. And I hopefully I'm not buffing for you right now, because I can see that my Wi-Fi is dipped down to minimal, less than a bar, about a half a bar. So I apologize if that's happening for you guys. So let's continue. Chandra, welcome. So like I said, share this out. I'll see if I can share it as we go. I was having issues with that, not being able to share it out. So you guys please share this out. Let's go over here and we'll continue.
For there is imagination only of things begotten. Coming to be is nothing but imagination. Clearly, the one who alone is unbegotten is also unimagined and invisible. But in presenting images of all things, he is seen through all of them and in all of them. He is seen especially by those whom he wished to see him. You then, Tat, my child, pray first to the Lord, the Father, the only, who is not one, but from whom the one comes. Ask him the grace to enable you to understand so great a God, to permit even one ray of his to illuminate your thinking. Only understanding, because it too is invisible, sees the invisible. And if you have the strength, Tat, your mind's eye will see it.
See? So only those who have the strength to see the mind to see the invisible. Here we go with that key phrase again in another ancient book too, because scrolls, the Corpus Hermeticum and the Asclepius, or I always say that wrong, and it's a Latin word. That literally is, there's your same, that comes from the Bible, says those things in the Hebrew Bible, the Christian Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament, as well as Hinduism. You see, and a few others that date back to Sanskrit. You see that same sort of verbiage right there, saying if your mind and if you have the strength, Tat, talking to the person, your mind, your mind's eye, you will see. So again, here's that you have to be diligent. You have to be adept in the spiritual and balancing those chakras and moving up into the spiritual plane, being in service to others, and then you will see, and this stuff will unlock for you. Let's continue.
For the Lord, who is ungrudging, is seen through the entire cosmos. Can you see understanding and hold it in your hands? Can you have a vision of the image of God? If what is in you is also invisible to you, how will God reveal his inner self to you
Welcome, Peter.
Through the eyes?
It's the first thing you do in the morning, and I can tell you what not to do. Do not start your morning with coffee, and do not start your...
If you want to see God, consider the sun, consider the circuit of the moon, consider the order of the stars. Who keeps this order? For every order is bounded in number and in place. The sun, the greatest god of those in heaven, to whom all heavenly gods submit as to a king and ruler, this sun, so very great, larger than earth and sea, allows stars smaller than him to circle above him. To whom does he defer, my child? Whom does he fear? Does not each of these stars in heaven make the same circuit or a similar one? Who determined the direction and the size of the circuit for each of them? Who owns this instrument, this?
See, now you have to realize that back then they equated the sun, the star Sol, that you guys know as the sun here that illuminates our planet, with the life bringer, the life giver, because the cycle of life on this planet, you have the seasons, and so you would have springtime in the northern hemisphere. Springtime is in March, April. So that was when in many religions the god would be reborn and the god would bring life to the world. Penny, welcome. So Penny said, I'm here because everybody's tagging her, and she's like, I'm already here, guys. So you're seeing them referring to that. So a lot of people would read superficially the sun worshipers, and they would say, oh, they worship the sun, the star, and how childlike. But they were referring to the sun as a god. They referred to here as him as a god, because you have to remember that far enough back, everything was a god that ruled something. If you read the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the other books that are far older in the Egyptian pantheon, they talked about, including the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, from Thoth the Atlantean, talking about the chakras. They were gods that ruled over those things, over the chakras. They were gods that ruled over those personalities, those archetypes. So they had an absolute where they saw things that were astral, as like, if you had an elbow, there was a god that created your elbow, a god that created your finger. So that's where you get the differentiation between the creators of the universe or the demigods. So that's where that came into the pantheon later on, when people and scientists were looking at the different things of different aspects of all of these people, calling everything a god. There was a god for everything: a god of the sea, a god of the air, a god of the land, a god of something that ruled that archetype that created that. And they weren't too far off from the chakras and the idea of the universe itself and the laws in the universe doing that. Literally, that it was, this larger than life entity that there was an archetype. And so to describe that archetype, they called it a god. So they said that it was a god, but it wasn't the creator. And then in modern time, people get confused when they hear gods, the many gods, and they go automatically, they're like, well, see, they're heathens because they believe in many gods. And they were actually calling them, the gods were not the creator. So the creator was above the gods. Okay, so you had the gods, Zeus, Apollo, all the gods, the Greek gods, the Roman gods, and then you had the creator, who was, like, say, to the Hebrews, the King of Kings. Above that, the creator of the universe was above the other gods. They were demigods. They were not quite as large in stature as the creator. So people now, they hear the word God and they think that means, because everyone says God, a singular monotheistic, God, male God. And in the modern day, because the big four religions on this earth, the big five religions on this earth, are all based on the same religion, the same book of Moses. Four of the five biggest religions are based on the book of Moses. So literally you have that. And then when you go back further, it changes, but it's still gods. And then when you read the older scrolls, especially some of them that were taken out of the Bibles during the different councils, particularly the First and Second Council of Nicaea, you find that they referred to these gods that were below, and they played that out for you. They explained that to you, that there was the creator, there was the creation, there was the creator, there was the demigods, and then there were below that angels, archangels, angels, and the like, the cherubim, going down this whole tree from the largest table, whatever you want to call that, from the creator, out of nothingness, and then including the ether and what that was and where that lined up. They had all that, and they all knew about that thousands of years ago, so it made sense to them. but most people are not educated enough on what they were talking about back then to realize what they meant. The same thing, it's the reason for me telling you all of this, the same thing goes for the metaphors that they used in the symbolism in the way they wrote, because they literally didn't have movies like we do to show you. So it was written, and then they had pictures that they painted. And that's why we to this day say a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's worth more than that, actually, right? When you really get into it. So you have the same thing happening in words, and the symbology is there, and it's trying to get the attention of people who are not self-serving to see these things. And that's why it's almost considered a secret, because they can't tell it outright, because the people who are self-serving will then edit it out of these old scriptures. As soon as they can understand what is happening in the words, they edit them out of the Bible. That's why there's more books removed from the modern day Hebrew and Christian Bibles than there were left in, by far. You can look that up. There's like 186 books that were removed from the Old and New Testament. So those books are the ones that evil people who were self-serving, recognized what was being said and said, nope, those all need to come out. So what was left in, because the Creator is far more crafty and understanding of what's going to happen, the other books that are left in are chock full of these kind of comments that are almost a nudge, wink of the Santa Claus wink and closing one eye and putting his finger over there on his nose, that's saying, pay attention here. There's something more, that if you have the mind to see, if you have the eyes to see, if you have the ears to hear, you will see what is written here. And then you hear people throughout, which they did just before this, saying that people who are living in the flesh will not be able to understand this and interpret the secret code is locked within you. And as you are choosing to be in service to others, you gain the knowledge through your being in service to others, and your ascension starting to move you in that direction. You then gain the resource that is the knowledge of what it means to understand, more importantly, not understand, the messages that you're reading on these pages, with the highlighted messages saying, let him who hath the understanding, let him who has the ears, let him who has the eyes, let him who has the mind to know that what is happening here. And those people who are more illuminated and expanding their consciousness and knowing, they're learning more because they're having downloads of information coming from the higher self, say the higher self, or the creator of the universe. That information is illuminating you, upgrading you, and then you start to be able to discern the difference between what's being said and understand. More importantly, not understand, because understand is something in the physical plane, but understand in the spiritual mind of yourself as the I am. You will then start to be able to see clearly what is being said to you, and it's a message for you, not a message for people who are in service to self, because they can't know the information and they never will. This is what is happening all around the world. People are doing that more and more in droves, and this is another example in yet another book where that was the way it was written on purpose for people to be able to figure out. Okay, so let's continue.
Bear, the one that turns around itself and carries the whole cosmos with it. Who sets limits to the sea? Who settled the earth in place? There is someone, Tat, who is maker and master of all this. Without someone to make them, neither place nor number nor measure could have been maintained. Everything that is an order has been made. Only something placeless and measureless can be not made. But even this does not lack a master, my child. Even if the unordered is deficient, that is, in that it does not retain the character of order, it is still subject to a master who has not yet imposed order on it. Would that you could grow wings and fly up into the air, lifted between earth and heaven to see the solid earth, the fluid sea, the streaming rivers, the pliant air, the piercing fire, the coursing stars, and heaven speeding on its axis, about the same points. Oh, this is a most happy sight to see, my child, to have a vision of all these in a single instant, to see the motionless set in motion, and the invisible made visible through the things that it makes. This is the order of the cosmos, and this is the cosmos of order.
Never brush your teeth or use mouthwash if you can taste your decaying teeth.
No,
Have dragon's breath or any type of...
If you wish also to see the vision through mortal things on earth and in the deep, my child, consider how the human being is crafted in the womb. Examine the skill of the craftwork carefully and learn who it is that crafts this beautiful, godlike image of mankind. Who traced the line round the eyes? Who pierced the holes for nostrils and ears? Who opened up the mouth? Who stretched out the sinews and tied them down? Who made channels for the veins? Who hardened the bones? Who drew skin over the flesh? Who parted the fingers? Who flattened the bottoms of the feet? Who cut passages for the pores? Who stretched out the spleen? Who made the heart in the form of a pyramid? Who joined the ribs together? Who flattened the liver? Who hollowed out the lungs? Who made the belly spacious? Who set the most honored parts in relief to make them visible, but hid the shameful parts away? See how many skills have been applied to the same single material, how many labors within the compass of a single work, all of them exquisite things, all finely measured, yet all different. Who made them all? What sort of mother or what sort of father, if not the invisible God, who crafted them all by his own will? No one claims that a statue or a picture has been produced unless there is a sculptor or a painter.
Right. Welcome, Reese. Welcome. If I missed anybody, Peter, welcome. I said Peter right before. If you guys don't say anything in the chat, I just see numbers and I don't know who's here. So welcome. Namaste, Reese. So yeah, so here again, it's the understanding or therefore of the understanding that is given you. How can you have a sculpture without the sculpture? So how can you have, and this is all metaphor again, or parable, showing you that how can you have a thing without a creator for that thing? So how can you have knowledge without somebody who was behind the knowledge? How can you have, right, wisdom without somebody behind the wisdom, right? So that's what you have here. Now let's continue, because these are more examples to show you that the information that is in everything is done by the creator, right? Correct?
Has this craftwork been produced without a craftsman then? Oh, how full of blindness, how full of irreverence, how full of ignorance. Tat, my child, never deprive the craftworks of their craftsmen. Or rather, he is stronger even than a name used of God, so great is the Father of all. Surely it is he alone whose work it is to be a father. If you force me to say something still more daring, it is his essence to be pregnant with all things and to make them. As it is impossible for anything to be produced without a maker, so also is it impossible for this maker not to exist always, unless he is always making everything in heaven, in the air, on earth, in the deep, in every part of the cosmos, in every part of the universe, in what is and in what is not. For there is nothing in all the cosmos that he is not. He is himself the things that are and those that are not. Those that are he has made visible. Those that are not he holds within him. This is the God who is greater than any name. This is the God invisible and entirely visible. This God who is evident to the eyes may be seen in the mind. He is bodiless and many-bodied, or rather, he is all-bodied.
Right, so that has odes of, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and I am the end. I am the all and nothing, right? There's your 3, 6, and 9 again. So 9 being the mathematical equation that is the Higgs boson, which is the everything and nothing, because 9 is all numbers and zeros, because 9 is, because you go back to 0 from 9. When you move up to 9, you go to a new 1 with a 0 behind it. So 9 is everything and nothing. 9 is the controlling factor that keeps 3 and 6 from one spinning inward for all of eternity, and one spinning outward for all of eternity, and actually links them into the figure 8, the yin and the yang, the Vesica Pisces, links them together so that they, at the 0 point, they switch and become the other to close the circuit. So that which is spinning inward in forever, when it reaches the 0 point, will then be just transform immediately to spinning outward, and then continue until it gets almost to a place where it's going to spin off into space forever, and then it flips over and starts spinning back inward again. That's the 3 and the 6, and the 9 controlling them to keep them in a closed circuit. So here, this is what is being described to you in metaphoric ways, so that you can understand exactly what that means, and not having something without a creator, or how can you have a raindrop without a rain cloud, or a drop of water in the ocean without the ocean itself, and how can you have the ocean without the drop of water? There's that learn, teach, learn, give and take symbiotic relationship that was explained in the Law of One, and all around the world. In all religions, there's always a symbiotic relationship, a give and take. You can't have a right without a left, and up without a down, back without a front, light without dark, life without death. You can't have good without evil. All of those things have to exist simultaneously for there to be one. So you cannot have one without the other, because then you will not be one, because you can't have man without a woman. You can't have masculine without feminine. So the creator of the universe, in its nature, is dualistic, is androgynous, because the creation itself reflects androgyny in everything that is, and then a separation of that to explore each individual masculine, feminine, and the traits that coincide with those archetypes of each, the Kundalini and the Kunda buffer energy. The entire universe is that, physical and spiritual. One, the physical is masculine, warlike, and the spiritual is feminine in its loving, caring aspect, because the masculine, the physical is more self-serving, and then the spiritual, being feminine, is more in service to others. So all of the dualistic avenues and attitudes that are governing the entire universe or multiverse, whatever you know that to be, is literally the creator separating those aspects of the self, of the I am, of the self that is the creation of the universe, and then breaking those down for us to experience, to completely play out the scenarios within ourselves, to understand just exactly what those aspects or archetypes mean in every facet of every experience. And that's what we're here to do, is to experience all that is the creator, all that is one, as we ascend back to the creator and become one with the creator at some point in time, a couple of millennia from now, or even more than that, almost an infinite time period. Let's continue.
There is nothing that he is not, for he also is all that is. And this is why he has all names, because they are of one Father.
Yeah, Denise said, I love the narrator's voice. That's one of the reasons I picked this, because I'm kind of partial to Ganji in the stuff that he does. I like his voice, but this was softer, and because of the book being from the college and a conglomeration where they cross-reference the two scrolls to write this book, I actually enjoy the book. So I was like, this is really, I like his voice too, because he's very soft, non-aggressive, very neutral, binary neutral. that with the voice, and that doesn't cause you any stress whatsoever. And he speaks that way on purpose, obviously. And there is no slant of one side or the other, one way or the other. It's just as a matter of fact, speaking with no emotion, with no attachment. And that allows you to, as the listener and the reader, to then experience that in a different way than if that person was trying to paint a narrative for you. And that's not what this person is doing. It's not trying to paint a narrative at all. I'm trying to interpret it without painting a narrative. Right. I'm trying to make sure that my interpretation is not spinning towards any one doctrine, religion, or otherwise philosophical or spiritual essence or in any way practice. So because I'm trying to show you how this fits a comparative, say, to the law of one, and then we'll go on to from here to the Emerald Tablets, and you'll see me repeat again how all of this stuff is being said in there, and then we'll go on to other books and scrolls that were taken out of the Bibles, and we'll eventually get into the Bibles themselves. And I'm writing about that currently in my next book to show you that correlation. And once that book comes out, I'll be going down that road a lot more. Okay, let's continue.
And this is why he has no name, because he is Father of them all.
Hey, starting a podcast from your phone is easier than ever. Let me show you how. Download the free...
Who may praise you?
And there was a time when they referred to the God with no name as he who has no name, because there was no name. That's what the Egyptians, you go back far enough for the Hebrews, when they were in Egypt, you hear that he who has no name. And even when Moses tried to ask him, he said, I am that I am. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and I am the end. So literally, the reason that there is no name is because who you're talking to is that which, not he, because it's androgynous. And they took those books out as well from the Bibles and made it a he, monotheistic, male-dominated religion. But they were a androgynous, male-female, as one creator of the universe. So that was no label, because a name is a label. It's either a masculine name or a feminine name, and you're gonna discern that, and then try to figure out and try to attach a distinct personality to that name, because that is what we humans do psychologically. We make up a story about everything that is happening that we see. We see a tree, we make up a story about that tree in our head. You don't realize you do it because you do it so often. If you pay attention to your own thought process, when you see somebody, the way they dress, you're going to make up a story in your mind about who that person is and why they're dressing the way they're dressing. That is the lesson that you're supposed to learn from judge not lest ye be judged. Because if you judge a book by its cover, then you're going to end up doing the opposite, and you're going to be judging people, and you're judging them by yourself, not by that. And these are the lessons that you're supposed to be learning from all of this, right? You're supposed to be learning these lessons, not just following and not understanding or understanding, more importantly, what is being taught to you, right? So, right, Shelley says, please play, right? So, Shelley, if I'm moving too slow for you because I'm interpreting this, you can get this book or watch this video and have your own interpretation. I tell people that all the time. If I'm moving too slow because I'm explaining things for people that have, don't understand what's going on, you don't need me. You don't feel that you need me. You can at any time read any of these books, go buy the hard copy or play this yourself, or get the, something else, and then come up with your own interpretation of what's going on. What I'm doing here is helping people to understand that and taking time to wring these things out, because 96% of the entire population of the earth does not know what I'm saying. And I know that because no one does, because there's not a lot of people talking about it. And I'm not the only person who knows this. Many people throughout time have known this. That's why it was written the way that it was written, for people to discover and figure out. But the information was taken from you, and the keys to this information was taken from you, and no one ever learns it by reading it. They are keeping you from reading it and actually discerning the information that is unlockable for every single human. And there are some of us around the world that are aware of that, and we're trying to assist the planet. So if I'm going too slow for you, you have decisions to make of what you want to do with that. Okay, let's continue.
You then, acting on your behalf or according to your purpose. And where shall I look to praise you? Above, below, within, without? For there is no direction about you, nor place, nor any other being. All is within you. All comes from you. You give everything and take nothing. For you have it all, and there is nothing that you do not have. When shall I sing a hymn to you? One cannot detect in you time or season. For what shall I sing the hymn? For what you have made, or what you have not made? For what you have made visible, or what you have kept hidden? And wherefore shall I sing the hymn to you? For being something that is part of me, property, or is something apart? For you are whatever I am. You are whatever I make. You are whatever I say.
Okay, so here again, this is showing you the as above, so below, as within, so without, right? That you are one and that you are all of these things already. Most people don't know that, and they're not taught that because it's taken away from you, that you don't realize that everything is within you. All of the knowledge that you're seeking in the universe is within yourself. If you keep seeking it outside in the physical and trying to find it in the physical, which is exactly what this entire chapter is about in this book, if you're looking for it in the physical, you'll never find it there because it's not there. It's within you. It is spiritual, and that is where the knowledge is unlocked. And this is exactly what's being said to you here. And this is God saying these words to Hermes. Let's continue.
You are everything, and there is nothing else. What is not, you are as well. You are all that has come to be. You are what has not come to be. You are the mind who understands, the Father who makes his craft work, the God who acts, and the good who makes all things. The matter composed of the finest particles is air, but air is soul. Soul is mind, and mind is God.
Now you have to remember that then when they said mind, they were talking about spirit. And when they said soul, they were also talking about spirit. Today, people keep differentiating that with mind. We now today say mind is the physical body, soul is the physical body, and that spirit is above that. That is the behind that or beneath that, depending on how you see. Because in the back then, when this was written, when they said like the underworld meant within. It didn't mean under the earth where the devil was, like everybody thinks. It meant within. Okay, it meant within, unless they were talking about darkness, and then darkness was the land of darkness, was the being veiled, being in the physical, and being veiled and being asleep. Right, so you have to realize that. So again, here's one of those things that's interpreted. If you listen to it today and interpret it by what we say today, it's not what they meant then. It's not what they meant thousands of years ago. These same words that we have are completely different today, meaning things that are similar but not quite the same.
6. That the good is in God alone and nowhere else. The good, Asclepius, is in nothing except in God alone, or rather, God himself is always the good. If this is so, the good must be the substance of all motion and generation, for nothing is abandoned by it. But this substance has an energy about it that stays at rest, that has no lack and no excess, that is perfectly complete, a source of supply, present in the beginning of all things. When I say that what supplies everything is good, I also mean that it is wholly and always good. Yet this good belongs to nothing else except to God alone. God lacks for nothing, to become evil in longing to possess it. Nothing that exists can be lost to him, to cause him grief in losing it, for grief is a part of vice. Nothing is stronger than God, to make an adversary of him, nor does he have a companion to give him injury. Nothing is more beautiful to cause desire in him, Nothing is unheeding of him to make him angry, and nothing is wiser to make him jealous. Since none of these qualities belongs to the substance, what remains but the good alone? Just as none of these other qualities exists in such a substance, by the same token the good will be found in none of the other substances.
The practice you are about to learn is almost never described.
All the other qualities exist in all things, in the small, in the large, in things taken one by one, and in the living thing itself that is larger than all of them and the most powerful. Since generation itself is subject to passion, things begotten are full of passions, but where there is passion, there is no good to be found, and where the good is, there is not a single passion. There is no night where it is day, and no day where it is night. Hence the good cannot exist in generation. It exists only in the unbegotten. Participation in all things has been given in matter, so also has participation in the good been given. This is how the cosmos is good, in that it also makes all things. Thus it
And the cosmos back then meant the universe, right?
is good with respect to the making that it does. In all other respects, however, it is not good. It is subject to passion and subject to motion, and a maker of things subject to passion. With reference to humanity, one uses the term good in comparison to evil. Here below, the evil that is not excessive is the good, and the good is the least amount of evil here below. The good cannot be cleansed of vice here below, for the good is spoiled by evil here below, and once spoiled, it no longer remains good. Since it does not remain so, it becomes evil. The good is in God alone, then, or God himself is the good. Therefore, Asclepius, only the name of the good exists among mankind, never the fact. It cannot exist here. Material body, squeezed on all sides by vice, sufferings, pains, longings, angry feelings, delusions, and mindless opinions, has no room for the good. And this is the worst of all, Asclepius. Here below, they believe in each of the things I have just mentioned as the greatest good, when actually it is insuperable evil. Gluttony is the supplier of all evils. Error is the absence of the good here below. As for me, I give thanks to God for what he has put in my mind, even to know of the good that it is impossible for it to exist in the cosmos. For the cosmos is a plenitude of vice, as God is a plenitude of the good, or the good of God. If indeed there are things preeminently beautiful near to God's essence, those seem perhaps even cleaner and purer in some degree, which are part of him. One dares to say, Asclepius, that God's essence, if in fact he has an essence, is the beautiful, but that the beautiful and the good are not to be detected in any of the things in the cosmos. All the things that are subject to the sight of the eyes are as phantoms and shadowy illusions, but those not subject to it, especially the essence of the beautiful and the good, as the eye cannot see God, neither can it see the beautiful and the good.
Right, because the eye is in the physical plane, once again, looking for things in the physical. So the eye that is searching the physical plane will never be able to see God, will never be able to fathom God, will never be able to in any way focus on God because why? Because you're living in the flesh. As you're living in the flesh, that's self-serving, and the place is self-serving. The matrix itself is designed to give you what you desire. So it is, in fact, the physical place. It is, in fact, the test that you're supposed to get over. You're supposed to graduate from. So here again, you see this being played out and being explained to you, that here you're supposed to overcome yourself and become the self. Yourself is the physical and the self is the spiritual. Therefore, when God was asked, even by Moses, what shall I call you? I am. Right? And then you have, if you look at when I did the Roswell, New Mexico, 1947 alien spaceship that supposedly crashed that they claimed didn't, and the nurse that worked for the CIA and the U.S. military that didn't do that and didn't communicate with an alien who survived that crash named Errol. They called Errol, referred to in their people that they claimed were this, benevolent race of aliens who basically created everything after God created the universe, but God doesn't exist in their minds, being self-serving. But she talked about the beingness, that which is the condition of the human being, were what they called is-bees, because you are in the act of being. Therefore, you are an is-be, because that is what you're doing. You are, I am that I am. It's the same phrase spoken a different way. So we say being or beingness, and they said is-be, different concept, or same concept, different verbiage. And then the God who spoke to Moses 5,000 years ago said, I am, and I am that I am. Do you see? So again, it's just a different wording that is saying the same thing, consciousness. And then you hear the Greek saying, I think, therefore I am. And that is exactly the same phrase saying that Moses was told by God, I am that I am. Do you see? So these are the same things playing out there. And now you're hearing that being told once again in contrast to other things. But you could see hints in here of the different scrolls being discussed, they using the wording of error as a personage who is a demigod in this book. And there is the book of truth, which also refers to error as a demigod who existed. So that was also a Greek pantheon at the time from Mesopotamia. Right? If you look at the story of Marduk and the Mesopotamian scrolls, if you look up what the scholars have found, they say that the Mesopotamians wrote that. They didn't. They say they got it from the Greeks. They got it from the Akkadians, who were a border country to the east, and they were Greek. And then when you go to the Greeks and you look up that scroll and where they got that, they say they got it from the Egyptians. And then when you go to the Egyptians, they say they got it from an older society. Some say Thoth the Atlantean, from the Atlanteans. Others say from a society that died out roughly 77,000 years ago. And that scroll is a scroll that came from that societal structure, which was the society that existed on this earth prior to the one that we are currently living in now. 77,000 years ago, they were destroyed, the whole population of the earth. And the only people who survived are now repopulating the earth, and that is the society societal structure that we're in. So we have a concept of what's going on in the universe that is transcending at least now 77,000 years that we're aware of. And these books, this one, the Emerald Tablets, the Book of Moses, all of this dates back to at least 5,400, 5,500 years ago that we're aware of. And all of these books are attributed to something that existed 77,000 years ago.
For they are integral parts of God alone, properties of God, peculiar to him, inseparable, most beloved. Either God loves them or they love God. If you can understand God, you will understand the beautiful and good, the exceedingly bright, whose brightness God surpasses. For this is incomparable beauty and inimitable good, as is God himself. As you understand God, then, also understand the beautiful and the good. Because they are not separated from God, these have nothing in common with other living things. If you ask about God, you ask also about the beautiful. Only one road travels from here to the beautiful, reverence combined with knowledge.
Okay, so again, spirituality. Reverence combined with knowledge is the only road back to the source, back to God. So you cannot be self-serving because you will not in any way look to or believe in anything being more powerful than yourself, because you cannot love anyone but yourself because you are self-serving. So here's that being told to you right there, correct?
Hence, those who remain in ignorance and do not travel the road of reverence dare to say that mankind is beautiful and good, but a human cannot see nor even dream of what the good might be. Mankind has been overrun by every evil, and he believes that evil is good. Therefore, he uses evil the more insatiably and fears being deprived of it, striving with all his might not only to possess it, but even to increase it.
See, so nothing has changed. So this book was written thousands of years ago, describing the condition of self-servingness, evil, on this planet, and it has not changed. People who are self-serving are still exactly like this today. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is we have technology. Instead of writing things down in a book, we have videos because we have computers. Okay? And we think that we're so far superior to everybody. That's arrogance. That's the ego. That's self-serving. We think that we're so much more advanced than them. These are words. If you look at the condition of people today, you know that people are either good or evil. You know they're either in service to others or in service to self, respectively. And when you look at this and you see this description, it is exactly what you see playing out in politics, governmental systems, your boss or somebody, a coworker, or somebody you know. 14% of the population is in service to self. 86% of this population of this earth is in service to others. You know who those people are in your family, at your workplace, at your school, at whatever it is that, in the government, on television. You know who those people are who are opposing to your vibration. If you're in service to others, you know exactly if people around you who are evil in your minds, they are self-serving, and you know it. And here's a description that transcends time, that is identical to what you would conjure up in your own mind today. Okay, let's continue.
Such, Asclepius, are the good and the beautiful for humans, things we can neither shun nor hate. Hardest of all to bear is that we have need of them and cannot live without them.
I had this lead ball in my stomach, and the only relief that I was able to get was watching porn and just...
7. That the greatest evil in mankind is ignorance concerning God. Where are you heading in your drunkenness, you people? Have you swallowed the doctrine of ignorance undiluted, vomiting it up already because you cannot hold it?
Eating of the tree of life, right? Debauchery, self-serving, not being spiritual, not being in service to others.
Stop and sober yourselves up. Look up with the eyes of the heart. If not all of you, at least those of you who have the power. The vice of ignorance floods the whole earth and utterly destroys the soul shut up in the body, preventing it from anchoring in the havens of deliverance. Surely you will not sink in this great flood. Those of you who can will take the ebb and gain the haven of deliverance and anchor there. Then seek a guide to take you by the hand and lead you to the portals of knowledge. There shines the light cleansed of darkness. There no one is drunk. All are sober and gaze with the heart toward one who wishes to be seen, who is neither heard nor spoken of, who is seen not with the eyes, but with mind and heart.
See, so again, you're seeing with the third eye and the heart. Why? Because you are now in the upper three chakras, spiritual, seeing through the third eye, not seeing through the two eyes. You're seeing through the one eye. Remember the reference that I was using for Santa Claus closing one eye. And also Odin losing one eye to be able to see the future and the past, and being able to see the present with the one eye that he still had. So and then there's the riddle to Odin, this prayer, the song to Odin, and it says in that song, Odin, I know where you hid your eye. your other eye, and that is in your head, in your forehead. So he lost the sight of the one eye on his face and illuminated the eye of his third eye, and therefore playing out in the physical, showing you were Mugen and Noonan, the two blackbirds. One, they would sit on his shoulder, which I have tattooed on my body, sitting on his shoulder, and one is facing behind him and the other one is facing forward. And that is them being able to see the future. One sees the future, one sees the past, and Odin sees the present. And therefore, between those eyes, his one eye seeing the present and their eyes seeing in the future and the past, he sees the past, the present, and the future, which is energy, frequency, vibration. Again, it's 3, 6, and 9. Okay, so again, it's the same, and it's playing out in that cyclical nature, right? So let's continue.
But first you must rip off the tunic that you wear, the garment of ignorance, the foundation of vice, the bonds of corruption, the dark cage, the living death, the sentient corpse, the portable tomb, the resident thief, the one who hates through what he loves and envies through what he hates.
Okay, so again, that's the one who is self-serving, right? So you guys have to realize that. You have to look at that and see that, and see this. It's written in everything. There is nothing that is not written in. If you only get to see it, though, if you have the ears to hear, the eyes to see, the mind to know, right? So I figured we might as well segue here into my book, which talks about all of that and teaching you all of that so that you can see that. And this is what I'm doing now, is actually showing you in these books, in these scrolls from around time, going back as far as 77,000 years ago, possibly, and further than that, that there is a definite message that is there for you to unlock. And there is a group of people who have changed the narrative on this earth to take that message away from you, to ban these scrolls and these books. And I wrote about it in my book, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the Old Ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the Old Ways. On sale worldwide, online now.
Okay, so let's go back over here and continue on this line. We're on chapter 7, I believe. We're moving to 8. Chapter 7 still.
Such is the odious tunic you have put on. It strangles you and drags you down with it, so that you will not hate its viciousness, not look up and see the fair vision of truth and the good that lies within, not understand the plot that it has plotted against you when it made insensible the organs of sense, made them inapparent and unrecognized for what they are, blocked up with a great load of matter and jammed full of loathsome pleasure, so that you do not hear what you must hear, nor observe what you must observe. 8. That none of the things that are is destroyed, and they are mistaken who say that changes are deaths and destructions.
Here's how my friend published her book in less than 30 days. I never thought it could be
5
this
seconds.
easy. I heard about it.
Kick it out. Let's go.
Now, my son, we must speak about soul and body, and say in what way the soul is immortal, and whence comes the energy that composes and dissolves the body. Death actually has nothing to do with this. Death is a notion that arises from the term immortal. Either it is an empty usage, or through the loss of the first syllable, immortal is taken to mean mortal. Death has to do with destruction, yet none of the things in the cosmos is destroyed. If the cosmos is a second God and an immortal living thing, it is impossible for any part of this immortal living thing to die. All things in the cosmos are parts of the cosmos, but especially mankind, the living thing that reasons. God is in reality the first of all entities, eternal, unbegotten craftsman of the whole of existence. But by his agency, a second God came to be in his image, and by him this second God is sustained, nurtured, and immortalized as from an eternal Father, ever living because he is immortal.
See, now we're looking at, if you followed me for the law of one or read the law of one, you're seeing the logos and the sub-logos now. So the creator and the creation and those who are created by the creator, so that have the ability to also co-create. And that would make us down here at this level in the third dimension, the logos, right? The sub-logos, the sub-logos, we're the sub-logos, because you would have the creator of the universe being the logos, creating the universe would be the sub-logos, creating the galaxies, that's the sub-logos, then creating the solar system, sub-logos, and then we're the sub of that being planet, and then the body here. So we're all the way down the pecking order, all the way down from the highest realm down to the third chakra, right? Out of the 7 chakras. So that's at least 4 levels down to this level. That doesn't mean we only have 4 levels to go to get back to the creator. That just means that the creation itself and all of the things that are in those matter, those places that are the creation, the sub-creation, the sub-sub-creation, is all the way down to us down here at the physical plane level, 3rd dimension.
In fact, the ever-living differs from the eternal. God did not come to be by another's agency, and if he came to be, it was by his own agency. He never came to be, however. He comes to be always. This is the eternal being through whom the universe is eternal, the Father who is eternal because he exists through himself. But the cosmos became ever-living and immortal from an eternal Father, and the Father took the matter that he desired to set aside and made it all into a spherical form with body and bulk. The matter that he invested with this spherical quality is immortal, and its materiality is eternal. Further, the Father implanted in the sphere the qualities of forms, shutting them up as in a cave. He wanted to adorn what comes after him with every quality, to surround the whole body with immortality so that even matter, tending to separate from the composition of this body, would not dissolve into its typical disorder. When matter was without body, my child, it was without order. Especially here below, matter has the disorder confined to the other lesser things that have qualities, the property of increase and decrease that humans call death. But this disorder arises among things that live on earth. The bodies of heavenly beings have a single order that they got from the Father in the beginning, and this order is kept undissolved by the recurrence of each of them. The recurrence of earthly bodies, by contrast, is the dissolution of their composition, and this dissolution causes them to recur as undissolved bodies, immortal in other words. Thus arises a loss of awareness, but not a destruction of bodies. According to the Father's will, and unlike other living things on earth.
See, I want to stop there really quickly, because the loss of the knowledge, again, in that place, the physical place, because of the Father, because of the veiling. So you have that, and when you're here in this place, you have to learn to rise above that. And the only way that you can rise above that is not to be in service to self, and that's what's being told here. Being in service to others will allow you to then start gaining that knowledge back and being able to perceive and see the creator of the universe.
Mankind, the third living thing, came to be in the image of the cosmos, possessing mind as well as a relation not only of sympathy with the second God, but also of thought with the first God. For they have perception of the former God as of a body, but they take thought of the latter as of a mind without body, as of the good. Does this living thing not perish then? Hold your tongue, my child, and understand what God is, what the cosmos is, what an immortal living thing is, what a dissoluble living thing is, and understand that the cosmos was made by God and is in God, but that mankind was made by the cosmos and is in the cosmos.
See, so being a sub-logos, right? We're in the cosmos, universe. The universe was created by God. We were created by the universe because we're in it. And there again is the narrative that separates the human race. If you look at the book of truth, which we will get to eventually, there is a reference there to error, and error being the cosmos, error being the universe. And error created the human race, but that in the same verbiage, like we're seeing here, that nothing is done without the creator. So therefore, the creator created the universe and gave the universe the error, the ability to create. And therefore, it is not wrong that error created the human condition, because the creator expected that, and by the stature of giving that person or God or demigod the ability to do co-creating was done and inspired and encouraged, also down to our level, being a co-creator in our own right. Our job is to be that co-creator and co-create and create new scenarios to have new experiences, so that the creator of the universe can then live vicariously through us, creating new thoughts, new things, new adventures, new everything in a slightly different way. So people, when they say history repeats itself, most people these days say, no, it doesn't repeat itself, but it echoes. History echoes, because it repeats itself, but it's never the same, because it's already happened that way once. So there's something about history that changes each time it repeats. It's almost identical to the time before, but there's something different about it. It's a new scenario being created out of the old scenario that is improving it in some way, or so you're either advancing or you're not, and you're retarding or going backwards. So you're either becoming closer to the darkness or you're becoming closer to the light. And either can happen when history repeats or echoes itself, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. The potentiation is in each one of us to make it what we want it to be, because our collective consciousness makes the universe or our reality what it is. So what we believe as a collective consciousness creates that. This is why evil people try to gain control over the masses and the minds of the masses, so that they can control the matrix and make it what they want, to keep everybody locked into this place or stuck here, so that they continue to have a legacy of power, money, fame, and the like.
Understand that God begins, contains, and composes all things. 9. On understanding and sensation, that the beautiful and good are in God alone and nowhere else. Yesterday, Asclepius, I delivered the perfect discourse, and now I think that it needs a sequel, an exposition of the discourse on sensation. Apparently, there is a difference between sensation and understanding, the former being material and the latter essential. To me, however, the two appear to be combined, not separate. In humans, I mean. For in other living things, sensation is combined with the natural character.
See, so now the conversation is moving into the dual aspect of the human condition, having both sensation being spiritual, right, and the character, which is physical, and the ponderance of seeing and noticing that the human condition has both within it. That would be self-serving and in service to others, possibilities and potentiation. But let's ring that out, right? So let's continue here and see how the conversation goes here, getting into that aspect of the potentiation and people having free will.
But in humans, understanding is combined with it as well. Mind differs from understanding as much as God differs from divinity. Divinity comes to be by God's agency, understanding by the agency of mind. Understanding is the sister of reasoned speech, or each is the other's instrument. There is no utterance of reasoned speech without understanding, nor is there evidence of understanding without reasoned speech. Both sensation and understanding flow together into humans, intertwined with one another, as it were. For without sensation, it is impossible to understand, and without understanding, it is impossible to have sensation. Can understanding be understood without sensation, however, in the way that one pictures images when dreaming? It seems to me that in dream vision, both these faculties have been eliminated.
See, you also have to realize that back then they didn't, Joanne, welcome, Jamie, welcome. They didn't realize as much in a lot of their thinking in the spiritual that the dream state is the dual aspect of manifestation because it's outside of time. And they didn't realize the shamanistic ideologies in some of these religious aspects because they didn't go that far into the spiritual because of the ponderance of the Greeks in the physical pondering things, the way that they were pondering things there, they were not actually moving into the spiritual themselves in that realm to realize some things that other people were expanding on, which was the dream walking or the spirit walking, to where they were starting to realize, and we realize this more now than they did thousands of years ago, that the only difference, and this is why I talk about it and other people like me talk about it, the only difference between all of those states of consciousness, daydream, night dream, nightmare, awakened state of mind, spiritual state of meditation, the only thing that is determining the difference between all of those states of beingness when you are in fact in that place is your perception. Okay, so they're all the same, and the manifestation is exactly the same in all of those aspects, except for the one that is different, that is more different than any, is the physical plane here, because here we have time, the separation of past, present, and future. So a manifestation is not instantaneous in the physical place, and so therefore we believe that this place is real and those places are not, because you can instantaneously manifest something in a dream, or when you're outside of time, spirit walking or the like, you can move from one place to another instantaneously. So therefore that place can't be real, because in this place you can't do that. But the laws are different here in this place, the third dimension of reality, because there is time here. There is a differentiation between what was past and what was now and what is future. So you exist in the present moment only. So when you manifest something, you have to wait for that to become the present moment for it to manifest. If you were outside of time, you would be able to move directly to that because everything is now. Okay. And so that's the thing that they didn't understand back then. Even Hermes didn't understand that or ponder that. That's the lessons that the human race has learned in the last 5,000 years that has upgraded the human condition in the knowledge and understanding, not understanding, of spirit versus soul, or mind versus body, or spirit versus body.
Although when sleepers awake, understanding and sensation are always combined. At any rate, sensation is distributed to body and to soul, and when both these parts of sensation are in harmony with one another, then there is an utterance of understanding engendered by mind. Mind conceives every mental product, both the good, when mind receives seeds from God, as well as the contrary kind, when the seeds come from some demonic being.
I've got a brand new fridge on wheels that keeps your food ice cold without ever needing ice. It may look...
Unless it is illuminated by God, no part of the cosmos is without a demon that steals into the mind to sow the seed of its own energy. And what has been sown, the mind conceives. Adulteries, murders, assaults on one's father, acts of sacrilege and irreverence, suicides by hanging or falling from a cliff, and all other such works of demons.
Right. So the demons being self-serving, all the works of self-serving people who are evil, people who are self-serving. Ergo, people who are self-serving are evil. People try to tend to say, no, it's not that, because some people can be self-serving and be neutral. Those are people who are lying, and they're trying to pretend that they're actually good because they need people to believe that they're not evil, so that you trust them, so they can take advantage of you, use you, abuse you, and get over on you. Because if everybody becomes aware of the self and becomes aware that people who are self-serving, literally, part of their religion is they have to abuse you, control you, gain from you, torture you, rape you, do all these things to you. And if you're aware of that, the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence. If you're aware of these things, and you know these things when someone points out all of these words to you, just like here in this paragraph, that you know those things are wrong and that they're evil. Yet when we look at people who are doing those things, we don't always know that they're doing those things, because they look at us and they smile at us and they talk like they're in service to others, because they are in fact a predator trying to pounce on you, and they're trying to lull you into a false sense of security, so your defenses are down, so that they can then attack and do what they want to you.
Few seeds come from God, but they are potent and beautiful and good. Virtue, moderation, and reverence. Reverence is knowledge of God, and one who has come to know God, filled with all good things, has thoughts that are divine and not like those of the multitude. This is why those who are in knowledge do not please the multitude, nor does the multitude please them.
See, now you're looking at a description that is at least 4,000 years old, 3,500 to 4,000 years old, talking about the difference between self-serving people and people in service to others. And you hear us echoing these things, saying this is what we learned, that you don't follow the people. You don't want to see. You don't want to seek attention. You don't seek power, money, fame, clicks, likes. You don't seek to be in the norm, following the herd and following them, right? So here you see knowledge. Do not please the multitude, nor do the multitude please them. So you're not swimming. You're swimming against, or you're beating to your own drum. You're swimming upstream instead of downstream. You're not following the herd. And here we have somebody who wrote this thousands of years ago, telling the same thing that people are just now only starting to discover on Earth today. It's always been here. You just had to know what you were looking at and looking for.
They appear to be mad, and they bring ridicule on themselves. They are hated and scorned, and perhaps they may even be murdered. As I have said, vice must dwell here below, since this is its native land. The earth is its native land, not the cosmos, as some will blasphemously claim. The God-fearing person, at least, will withstand all this, because he is aware of knowledge. For all things are good to such a person, even things that others find evil. If they lay plots against him, he refers it all to knowledge, and he alone makes evil into good. I return again to the discourse on sensation. For sensation to have a share in understanding is human, but as I said before, not every person enjoys understanding. One will be a material, another an essential person. As I mentioned, material people surrounded by vice get the seed of their understanding from the demons.
Right, so self-serving people get their knowledge in the self-serving side from what would be the opposite of good guides, but bad guides, demons. Okay, so there's your concept of how demons came into be and what they are, because they are the anti people who are in service to others who would be guiding you. So therefore, they would be talking to demons. That doesn't mean that they existed in a physical way in which people think. However, they embody that anger, hate, all of that, because that is the knowledge that is sown to them. And you hear that being played out in the Law of One, or read it being played out in the Law of One, talking about these people that are in the fourth and fifth dimension density that are in fact self-serving, and how they're going across to the third dimension to be able to get into your head and see and show you these things in your dreams and talk to your ego and have your ego start following and saying things that are scary to you and worry you and cause anxiety for you. That's them Jedi mind tricking you, as it were, to get you to be live in fear so that they can control you better. So in here you're saying that this literally from thousands of years ago, saying that you get surrounded by this information. So when you see Yoda in the movies of Star Wars say, in fact, it was, I think it was the Return of the Jedi, or it might have been the one before that, where he said to Luke, when he asked, Luke said, is the dark side stronger? And he said, no, easier, more seductive. But if you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. And the same goes for the other way. So once that's the concept of which wolf do you feed by the Native Americans here in the United States, North American continent. Which wolf do you feed? The wolf that is good or the wolf that is evil? You become the wolf that you feed the most. When you choose to listen to the angel on your right shoulder or the devil on your left shoulder, you will become that. So if you're listening to the devil on your left shoulder, you'll become more self-serving. If you're listening to, because that's the ego, and if you're listening to the angel on your right shoulder, that's the conscience, not the consciousness, the conscience that says, don't do that. Those things are wrong. You wouldn't want that to happen to you. That one is in service to others and trying to guide you down that path. Those are the dual aspects of what goes on in your psyche, or id, as Freud would say, in your psyche, of that duality between those two energies, Kundalini, Kunda buffer, masculine, feminine, however you want to see that, the Vesica Pisces, the balance of that, lower three chakras, physical plane, upper three chakras, spiritual plane.
But God saves those who, in their essence, are surrounded by good. God, craftsman of all things, makes all things like himself in crafting them. But these things that begin as good come to differ in their use of energy. The motion of the cosmos, as it grinds away, produces generations of different kinds. Some it soils with vice, others it cleanses with the good. For the cosmos has its own sensation and understanding, Asclepius, not like the human, not diverse, but far stronger and simpler.
How to kill all mosquitoes in the area in just minutes. This simple but brilliant trick you can do tonight to eliminate all mosquitoes.
The sole sensation and understanding in the cosmos is to make all things, and unmake them into itself again, an instrument of God's will. In reality, God made the instrument to make all things actively in itself, taking under its protection the seeds it has received from God. In dissolving all things, the cosmos renews them, and when things have been dissolved in this way, the cosmos, like life's good farmer, offers them renewal through the same process of change that moves the cosmos.
Right, so you can't have life without death. You can't have it up without down, right? So you have to have change. You can't live your life without change. So if you live your life and you're trying to better your life, you have to change. Again, there's that process of change that moves the cosmos. Yeah, so it's the laws of the universe that are basic. They are the same archetypes in the universal structure, in the galaxy structure, down to the solar system structure, down to the planet, down to you, down to nature, down to everything. It's the building blocks of everything that is perfectly balanced. That Fibonacci sequence, as opposed to the golden mean ratio, the spiral, that people still want to call Fibonacci. Fibonacci didn't come up with a spiral; he came up with the right angles. So you have the golden mean ratio and the other side, dual aspect in nature. Nature is both. There is no dual aspect in nature itself, meaning the matrix itself, the matrices. However, things in it become masculine or feminine, trees and plants and animals and the human condition. We are separated into good and evil, and we have a choice to become either on all of that. Why? Because the Creator wants to have us have that autonomous, organic experience of not knowing that we are the Creator, and what the outcome of that will become more random by us doing that. Okay, let's continue here. Let me go back over here. And then it'll be different. So instead of being the same scenario coming up all the time and us getting stuck on that, we're now spawning new new scenarios and new memories and new experiences because we're encouraged to do so.
There is nothing that is not a product of the cosmic fecundity. In moving, it makes all things live, and it is at once the location and the craftsman of life. All bodies come from matter, but in different ways. Some come from earth, some from water, some from air, and some from fire.
Right, so there you have the four elements that create this physical plane, right? Earth, air, fire, water.
All are composite bodies, some of them more strongly so, and some are simpler. The more strongly composite are the heavier bodies, those less so are the lighter. The rapid motion of the cosmos produces diversity in causing generations of different kinds. When the cosmos breathes most frequently, it offers qualities to bodies, and their plenitude is one thing only: life. Thus, God is father of the cosmos, but the cosmos is father of the things in the cosmos. The cosmos is the son of God, and the things in the cosmos are made by the cosmos. It is rightly called cosmos, or arrangement, for it.
Now, the cosmos being the son of the Father, there's a lot of people today that are starting to believe that that this could be interpreted and have started saying these things, that let's say the Milky Way galaxy and the personality of the Milky Way galaxy, the collective consciousness of the Milky Way galaxy, is in fact Jesus, is in fact the Christ. So therefore, when Jesus said the way to heaven is through me, it is through the ascension up from the human condition to the solar system condition, to the galaxy condition, to the universal condition. And that is the only way, and that way is up, and that way is ascension. Ascension is up, Jacob's ladder. 33 runs on Jacob's ladder, the ascension, and the levels that you must move up. The 33 runs, and that number 33 is why you have Freemasons that are 33rd degree Freemasons, because they believed in 33 levels, and a lot of the Asians in their ideology say that there are 33 levels to come back to the Creator, and that we're on level 3 way down here, and we have 30 levels to go above this. There's a lot of speculation about that and just how far or how close that is to reality. And when you look at things from the perspective of the knowledge that they had in all of these pantheons and all of these philosophical thoughts throughout all of time that we're looking at, if you're a theological, a theologian, you will see that. You start, unless you're focusing on just the semantical differences between religions instead of looking at spirituality, which is unfortunately the most part of all theologians do the comparative religion, and they're looking for a scroll, and they're chopping down all the trees trying to find the forest, and they're not looking at the actual message that they all have in common, the common denominator.
Ranges all things.
Which is a good time right here to maybe segue one more time into the reality about reality, returning to.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the old ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself, when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the old ways. On sale worldwide, online now.
And because companies can still receive tax credits for carbon capture projects, some critics say it enables them to.
What is the
Meanwhile, some wildlife.
Sorry about that. And, for some reason, I just went down. I hope you guys are just sitting there going, "What just happened?" I apologize for that. Apparently, something crazy happened, and my computer just froze for a second, and I lost my internet and lost my screen, and it just came back. So I do apologize. I am back finally. So I apologize if you guys sat there and for about whatever that was, 15 seconds or so when I had dead air. I apologize for that. Let's continue.
In the diversity of generation, in the ceaselessness of life, in the tirelessness of activity, in the rapidity of necessity, in the associability of the elements, and in the order of things that come to be. That it should be called an arrangement, then, is necessary and fitting. Therefore, in all living things, sensation and understanding enter from outside, breathed into things by the atmosphere. But the cosmos got them once and for all when it came to be, and having got them, it keeps them by God's agency. God is not without sensation and understanding, though some would have it so, committing blasphemy in an excess of piety. For all things that exist are in God, Asclepius.
Well, Joanne, I'm glad that it was only 6 seconds, because for me it was longer than that. So I think what was happening was the commercial continued playing and then ended, because literally my screen went black and there was nothing on my computer screen. And then when it started coming back, it was pieces of the windows opening, pieces of that, and I had no control over jumping from window to window, going to the studio or anything. And then eventually the entire thing repainted, and then I was able to start. So for me, it was a lot longer than 6 seconds. I'm glad I had some crazy dead air for about 6 seconds there. Thank you for that. Okay, let's continue here.
Asclepius. They have come to be by God's agency, and they depend from on high, some of them acting through bodies, others moving through psychic substance, or making life through spirit, or taking in the spent remains, which is as it should be. Or rather, to let the truth be shown, I should say that God does not contain these things. He is all of them. So he does not acquire them as something added from outside, but gives them freely to the outside. And this is God's sensation and understanding, always moving everything. The time will never come when any of the things that are will be abandoned. When I speak of the things that are, I speak of God. For God holds within him the things that are. None are outside of him, and he is outside of none. If you are mindful, Asclepius, these things should seem true to you, but they will be beyond belief if you have no knowledge. To understand is to believe, and not to believe is not to understand.
Right. So here again, in that passage right there, right? Knowledge to understand is to believe, and to not believe is to not understand. If you are in service to self, you will not believe, you will not understand. If you are in service to others, you will believe and you will understand, because you will gain a different knowledge, and therefore you will upgrade yourself, and you will ascend. You will gain that knowledge on the in service to other side, and that expands your consciousness into the understanding of all of this information and being able to discern it. If you are living in the flesh, you will never gain that, cannot gain that, and refuse to have that. So you will therefore deny it, because you cannot accept anything that is better or higher than yourself, because you are love yourself, you are self-serving. Therefore, there cannot be a God, because a God means that you are not it, and you are not in charge, and you are not the one. You are not the center of attention, the center of the universe, the all-powerful, the all-knowing. Therefore, you have to deny that with your very existence. You have to deny it.
Reasoned discourse does not get to the truth, but mind is powerful. And when it has been guided by reason up to a point, it has the means to get as far as the truth. After mind had considered all this carefully and had discovered that all of it is in harmony with the discoveries of reason, it came to believe, and in this beautiful belief it found rest. By an act of God, then, those who have understood find what I have been saying believable. But those who have not understood do not find it believable. Let this much be told about understanding and sensation. 10. Discourse of Hermes Trismegistus, the key. Yesterday's discourse, Asclepius, I entrusted to you. It is right that I entrust today's to Tat, since it is a summary of the general discourses delivered to him. Therefore, O Tat, God the Father and the Good have the same nature, or rather activity. Nature is the term for growth and increase, which apply to things that change and move, while activity applies also to the unmoved, to the divine, that is, in which he himself wishes to include the human. Elsewhere we have taught about divine as well as human activities, which one must now understand in the same sense as on those other occasions. God's activity is will, and his essence is to will all things to be. For what are God the Father and the Good but the being of all things, and of things that are no longer, at least the very substance of their existence? This is God, this is the Father, this is the Good, to whom nothing else belongs. For the cosmos, as also the sun, is itself the father of things that exist by participation. But for living things it is not also, equally with God, the cause of the good, nor of life. But if it is the cause, it is in any event entirely constrained by the good will, without which nothing can be or come to be. The Father, receiving the appetite for the good by way of the Son, causes the begetting and rearing of his children, for the good is the principle of making. But the good can come.
Yes. Yes. Who was it that said that? Joanne said, no, who was it that said it? Denise, sensation meaning feelings. Yes. Sensation is feeling. I also wanted to point out that the word tat, that you're hearing him saying, oh, tat, saying that. In Hinduism, tat signifies that referring to the Lord's essence, the ultimate reality, the Brahman, right? The Brahman. So that's when you hear him talking and saying, oh, tat, and then saying that is the response of Hermes to talking to the creator and saying that which is the essence of the creator. In addressing the creator, not knowing the creator's name, not knowing the I am, and calling it the Brahma, the tat, the essence of that which is the knowledge of the universe. Okay, so I forgot to point that out earlier, so I thought I would take that spot right there to answer that, and then also point that out. Right. So yeah, sensation meaning feeling, because sensation is physical. Is a what we have? It is a feeling. Sensation is a feeling. So yes, exactly that. All right, let's continue.
Come to be in none other than him alone, who receives nothing, but wills all things to be. I will not say who makes tat, for much of the time one who makes is wanting both in quality and quantity, in that sometimes he makes and sometimes not. Now he makes this kind and this many, now the opposite. But God the Father is the good, in that he wills all things to be.
So one could interpret that also, that the tat is the son or the voice of the creator, the essence of the creator, not the creator itself. So the Christ was the tat, was the essence of God or the voice of God, and that's how they elevated Jesus to with the Trinity. If Jesus is the voice or the essence of God, then therefore Jesus must be the creator or the son of the or the son of the creator, differentiated only by being in the physical plane, existing as a human God on earth. Do you see? So you have to realize that in all these, now you're talking about, Hinduism, Judaism, and the like, where they had their own version of what that concept was. All religions do. They have a version of what is in the flesh and who's the savior in the flesh, and what is that savior character, that hero character, represent to those people in that culture. Played out well by Joseph Campbell in his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, because he showed how that aspect, as above, so below, as within, so without, how that aspect plays out for each individual one of us as an individual, that we go on that hero's trek, that we are called on that hero's journey, and that is the way to heaven being through Jesus. When he said that, the way to heaven is through me, that is you going on the same journey, proverbially and sometimes literally, hopefully not being sacrificed and being murdered at the end of your journey, but learning from what you need to learn, so that there is no sacrifice in sacrificing yourself in the physical, and that you learn the wisdom in the understanding instead of understanding, to then ascend in some way away from the trap and the trappings of this place that it will eventually harm you and destroy you and kill you. Jesus had to show that negative so that we could see the contrast, and other people also did that. Marduk did it. Thor did it. It was the same, coming down in the physical form and then dying to be resurrected, and to then to illuminate. So dying in the flesh by resurrecting in the spirit, from going from being self-serving to being in service to others. The dark night of the soul is the very thing. Carl Jung talked about that. That's the very thing that is happening to you when you do that. When you hit rock bottom, you then have nowhere to go besides up. And the only time some of us will ever learn that lesson is to hit rock bottom. We have to go all the way down to the lowest depths of our beingness and look and say, there is nothing left for me. And at that moment, you make a decision to live or die. You either decide to die or kill yourself, or not go on and stay there and wallow in that, or you decide to get up. That was played out in The Man in the Box by Alice in Chains, where he said in the song, come and see me, I'm the man in the box. He was sitting, he said, wallowing in my spit on the PG version of the album, but in concert he said, wallowing in my shit. And he was sitting in what he thought was a prison. It was a proverbial prison he was sitting in, which is being in the flesh here on earth, feeling sorry for himself, sitting down in the corner, wallowing in this place that is the physical plane, and then, saying, please, Jesus, save me. And then hearing the ego saying, deny your maker, don't do these things, and don't become spiritual. So that was played out by Alice in Chains 35 years ago, or whenever that song was written, 30 years ago, whenever they wrote that song. And most people never understood it. And if you watch the video, you can see the visuals that are playing that actual scenario out that you see here. And that is the ascension of, until that person, the man in the box, decides to stand up, and, you hear that, so my eyes shut, and deny your maker, the ego says in the background. That's where if you listen to the other band members singing, they're singing the part of the ego, and then they switch, and then you can see the difference in the video when he's singing without sunglasses on and singing with sunglasses on. When he's singing with sunglasses on, you can see that he's far more aggressive, and he's more demon-like, because he's being the ego and the devil. And when he's singing without the sunglasses on, he's softer and more loving and caring. He's singing as the Jesus character, and then you realize that the only way that you can be illuminated to see is to sew your eyes shut, stop looking in the physical plane. And then at the very end of the video, he's still sitting in the box, and you see this figure that's kind of walking around the outside of this cage, and eventually, he's dressed in a whole robe with a hood up, and you can't see his face, and eventually he comes over and pulls back the robe at the very end, and it is in fact Jesus in there with his eyes sewn shut, because he's not looking in the physical, he's looking through the spiritual. And there's the proverbial Odin losing one eye to see the future and the past, and the only one eye to see the present. And Jesus was seeing only through the spiritual, because that's the ascension, and was able to manifest and walk around in the physical without physical eyes, because he was closing those eyes and sewing them shut, so that he was blinded to this place and being evil and sowing discord, and only seeing through the eyes of love and caring. And that was what that video was about. It was a beautiful video when it comes to spirituality. Most people don't even think that's what the song is about, and they miss that. And I tell people, watch the video and pay attention to it from the spiritual set, and you'll realize those guys knew what they were doing back then. Okay, so that plays out throughout history. People are trying to tell you this stuff, and here you see that, and that the opposites, again, right, you can see on your screen, opposite, but God the Father is the good, and that he wills all things to be so.
So it is then for one who can see. For God also wishes this seeing to happen, and it happens for him too, and chiefly, and all else happens because of it. For being recognized is characteristic of the good. This is the good, Tat. You have filled us with a vision, Father, which is good and very beautiful, and my mind's eye is almost blinded in such a vision. Yes, but the vision of the good is not like the ray of the sun, which, because it is fiery, dazzles the eyes with light and makes them shut. On the contrary, it illuminates to the extent that one capable of receiving the influence of intellectual splendor can receive it.
See, here again is another explanation in chapter 10 of the same thing, right? Let him who has the eyes to see, right? So the influence of intellectual splendor can receive it. Again, if you are moving up on the spiritual side in service to others, you will then unlock the ability to download this. So again, you're hearing the same thing. Why are we hearing the same thing? If you think about this, there's the cyclical nature of the universe, and you hear me over and over and over, and I'm not the only person who says this, over and over and over again, we talk about all of the same things. So this is a parable of the same message being talked about again from a different perspective. This is the message. The secret to the universe is very simple. And when I tell people, I can tell you what these scrolls say, and they're supposed to be locked up in time for a time such as a time away in the future for people to be able to interpret. However, no one was able to interpret that for a very long time. And then I am able to interpret those. And then I start looking around to see if there's other people. And at first there's no one. And I'm thinking I must be making this up. This was, like almost 4 years ago now. And I'm thinking I must be making this up. So I keep it quiet. And eventually I start seeing other people that are saying the exact same things about the exact same things like I'm saying here. And I'm seeing more and more and more people around the world that are also seeing that. And the first time I heard a woman come on and say, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are about balancing your chakras. And I was like, I need to meet this person. Never got to meet her, but we did correspond a bit. Same thing with the revelations of Jesus. The letters to the churches in the Revelations is the same thing. It's about balancing the chakras, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and knowing the secret in the name of this God that rules the gate that you have to get through to get to heaven. And you have to know the God's name, and you have to know the riddle to tell this God to open up this gatekeeper to open the gate and let you sail through on the boat on your journey. And if you don't know all of these rightful information to get you through, you never get to go to heaven. Again, being veiled and becoming unveiled and knowing and being able to pass the test of the knowing to be able to then move forward perpetually forward until you get back to the Creator. This stuff has been playing out throughout history for all of time, right in front of people's faces. And the knowledge of how to interpret that has been taken away from you. This is a perfect example. Once again, let's see if I can do this without my computer exploding on me, to go to the reality about reality, returning to the old ways. And you guys can take a look at that and watch this video. This is on sale online worldwide.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the old ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the old ways. On sale worldwide online now.
Okay, so let's continue with this. So you see it reoccurring, and it's a cyclical thing within all of the scriptures from everyone throughout all of time. And that's why I'm breaking it down, showing you that here with the Corpus Hermeticum. Then I'm going to move on to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and I'm going to show you that as well. And I'm writing about that in my next book that I will be publishing either next year or the year after. It may take me a little bit of time, and if not, I'm still talking about it. So you guys are getting it for free now, and I'm showing you these things. This is not my interpretation of this. This is the interpretation of this that you can unlock in your mind, unlock with the downloads that you get. If you are in service to others and you can't fool the universe, You even saw that playing out in chapter 8 and chapter 9. You cannot fool God. You cannot fool the universe. You're either self-serving or you're not. And if you're not self-serving, then you will get the download that will allow you to then see this. You'll have the mind to see, the eyes to see, the ears to hear, or you will be in service to self, and you will choose the flesh, in which case you will get downloads from demons, and it will be about conquering and pillaging and raping and clicks and likes and money and power and fame and all of those things, control of the population, and making sure that you and your family have a legacy of cash and wealth, because this is all that will be in your reality, because this is it. This matrix is the only thing that exists to you, and you cannot fathom, and you will deny anything that exists that is separate from that in any way, because you are self-serving and you love yourself. Therefore, there cannot be a creator, there cannot be a God, because that would be contradiction to what you believe and what you love, and that is you and you alone.
It probes more sharply, but it does no harm, and it is full of all immortality. Those able to drink somewhat more deeply of the vision often fall asleep, moving out of the body toward a sight most fair, just as it happened to Uranus and Kronos, our ancestors. Would that we too could see it, Father. Indeed, my child, would that we could. But we are still too weak now for this sight. We are not yet strong enough to open our mind's eyes and look on the incorruptible, incomprehensible beauty of that good. In the moment when you have nothing to say about it, you will see it. For the knowledge of it is divine silence and suppression of all the senses.
Vitacos brings wellness to everyone. Just ask our customers.
Vitacos keeps me at the top of my game.
One who has understood it can understand nothing else, nor can one who has looked on it look on anything else.
See, so here again, we're seeing Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching, 634 BCE. So, according to history, Hermes wrote this first, and it goes back to before that, even further back than that. So then you have Lao Tzu in China, who we have no idea, at the same time as the Buddha, we have no idea if they read this book or even knew that it existed, or even if it was readily available at this time. However, we do know that people around the world at different times in different places came up with the same knowledge. And that knowledge was those who are living in the flesh will not grasp, cannot find, cannot see, cannot understand that which is spiritual. And those who are spiritual will not grasp and cannot grasp and see those who are evil. You will understand them, you will get them, but you won't get the knowledge and you won't get the reasoning of what they're doing. You'll realize it and you'll see it, just like they'll realize you and they'll see you for the same, that you are the opposite to them, and they will despise you because of it and hate you because of it, right? And you may even hate them back because of what they were doing, though it's not in the nature of someone who is in service to others to in fact hate people. At some point you don't seek that, and you don't have those emotions anymore, and you don't see that in people because you see more love, and therefore you're going to be more inclined to look at them and see them for the potential and love them and pity them. Hence, at the end, close to the very end, one of the very last things that Jesus said was, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Or hear of anything else, nor can he move his body in any way. He stays still, all bodily senses and motions forgotten. Having illuminated all his mind, this beauty kindles his whole soul, and by means of body draws it upward, and beauty changes his whole person into essence. For when soul has looked on the beauty of the good, my child, it cannot be deified while in a human body.
Right. So I want to stop real quick and say to Peter Coyle in the audience, hi, brother. I don't think I said hi to you earlier, but he's just informing everybody that he's going to be going on. He is an actor, by the way, and who was in the History Channel's The Vikings. He was in almost every single scene in that television series, and he's going to be auditioning. He doesn't have it confirmed yet. He's saying, but he just wanted to let us know that he has a audition for a television show, and he's been talking about this before, that is going to be about UFOs and disclosure in some way of that. And so hopefully you get it, brother. Congratulations if you do. That would be kind of cool, right? And so it looks like it's called Beyond Rendlesham Forest, probably is what you're saying, right? Because it says Beyond Random Forest. I believe he's saying Beyond Rendlesham Forest, which I've met the people, Jim Peniston and his buddy who wrote the book, interviewed them both and had many conversations with them about that Rendlesham Forest. I even interviewed and spoke to Jerry Hesseltine, who was the MI6 Interpol. He was MI6 police department, who it was brought in to investigate that. I did also interviewed him on Ancient Aliens Worldwide, which I'm the creator and owner of on Facebook. Interviewed him on the night that his episode that he did on Rendlesham Forest and his interview and his investigation was airing on that season. I think it was season 13 or season 14, episode 1 of that season. And we did a live interview for 1 hour, or for two, I think we did 2 hours, and it ended when the East Coast of the United States, that episode aired on that opening night. And so we had that live for all of the people around the world on Ancient Aliens Worldwide, and then said, now go and watch the episode that is airing for History Channel's Ancient Aliens. So I'm very aware of and interested in that. So Peter, I hope you gain that and get that. And I would love to see what that's about. Right. So, yeah, he said, yeah, that's correct. Because he was saying it and he was speaking to the computer, and the computer put the wrong word in there. So he was seeing that. So I hope you get that, because I would love to see that air, and I would love to see what they're talking about in that, because if they're because I know that I can't think of his name right now. He came out with a new book that was that Beyond Rendlesham Forest, and I interviewed him, I produced it for my Ancient Aliens Worldwide, and Mandy Wilson interviewed him when that book came out. I think it's 2 years ago now, when that book came out, that is about that, Beyond that. So if they're basing a movie on that ideology, you guys can go and watch the videos of that I'm speaking of. If you go to Ancient Aliens Worldwide on Facebook, you will see in the video archives, you'll see those videos of that we produced there and had them on to interview and talk about that. You can find the Peniston video. You can find the Gary Hasseltine, and I can't think of the other guy's name that wrote the book with Peniston about Rendlesham Forest. That's all in there. You can watch those interviews with them that we did, dating back now to 4 or 5 years ago, when we first started interviewing them and had them on, which I believe that they're going to be coming back on soon. I just haven't had time to talk to Mandy Wilson, who is the curator of Ancient Aliens Worldwide over there, running that place on Facebook for me. I haven't talked to her lately, and we've been missing each other. We haven't had a chance. We kept trying to talk in the last 2 weeks, but things have been kind of crazy. Okay, let's continue here with that. So congratulations ahead of time, Peter. We'll manifest that for you. And I would love to see that go to air, because I would love to see what they're going to play out, what scenarios they're going to play out with the aftermath of Rendlesham Forest and all of that entails. That's going to be really cool if that does get filmed.
Deification, Father. What do you mean? The changes that belong to any separated soul, my son. What do you mean by separated? In the general discourses, did you not hear that all the souls whirled about in all the cosmos, portioned out, as it were, come from the one soul of the all? Many are the changes of these souls, then, some toward a happier lot, others the opposite.
Okay, so here you literally see that dynamic that is being said right here, that everything comes from the one true creator. Everything comes from the creator, and we are sourced out or fractured out portions of the creator itself that are acting out, and down here basically ringing out and investigating all of these aspects. And we have people who are some towards a happier and a lot others the opposite. So you have some souls who have chosen to be in service to others, and some souls who have chosen to be in service to self, so that we can play out these dual aspects down in these places. And some people say this is a play and it's fake. It is, but it's not. It is in the mind of the creator, and you just saw that being stated here, that all of this is happening in the mind of the creator. However, it is not just a fake, because it is actually rounding out and coming up with discovering new scenarios to help, in fact, the creator of the universe evolve. That is what this place and this entire endeavor of nothingness to creation to then first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth density dimension and dimensionality and free will to then experience by being veiled true organic experiences of not knowing while you're veiled that you are the creator in any way, until you discover that you are the creator and ponder that and either move back in service to others towards that creation and that creator and merge back with that, or you stay in the unservice to self and you stay apart from, as far away from the light as you can, and you exist in the physical planes only, and eventually you get to the literal purgatory where you cannot go any further, whether you like it or not, even though people will say, no, evil's equal to God, and there's the God on one mountain and the devil on the other mountain. They're vying for control of the human condition. That's just not true. It is true only in the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and halfway through the sixth dimension, because halfway through the sixth dimension, evil cannot exist past that, because that is where God, the creator, the creator, the I am, the oneness of the universe or the multiverse, that is the creator of all things, had drew the line that it is not from this point on, not and cannot exist in the self-serving pantheon, that it only exists up until that point, and then knowledge and love plays out from there. And there's a totally different, crazy, I can't even get into the concept of what goes on above that, because that concept is just so alien to down here that it's even difficult to put into words what actually happens there. You would have to ascend yourself to get to that place to be able to see it, to see the wonderment of that, and then to start to realize just exactly what it is. And some people have done that throughout time, and they come back and they too can't really explain to you what it is. It's like when you go to the center of the all and you see the creator, you cannot express in words here what that is. And most people just cry with this beauty and wonderment of the love that they have witnessed and how bright it was and how loving it was. And they say the words still don't do it justice, and they just start crying because of how emotional they become from that. And I don't want to look there, because then I will probably do the same thing right this second, because it's really hard not to.
The snake-like change into water creatures. The watery change into things of dry land. The dry land souls change into winged things. The aerial into humans, and human beings changing into demons.
And so Penny said, can we get our fracture back in this human third? Well, you are a fracture in this place of that, and all of, let's see, but I was just talking to Brooke about this yesterday, and she said she doesn't like that word because fracture means, it has this connotation of something's wrong, and it's not. So we're trying to come up with, because that's what people usually say. They usually say you're a fractured individual or an echo of the creator. I like that word better, an echo of the creator. You're an individual. You're one individual piece of the creator that is a distinct personality. That's as close as we can get it without it sounding fractured or damaged or broken. It's because you're not actually that, but you are an individual, and you've had past lives and you will have future lives. And you are, each one of those past lives, you're a completely different entity that is separate even from you as Penny or me as Leonard. My past lives, I had distinct personalities with the free will to live and be that distinct personality, unaware of any of the other distinct personalities. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Why? Because then we can have an organic experience that is unique to us, so that we can come up with new scenarios and new ways of seeing and perceiving the same reality, to gain more knowledge, in the hopes of gaining more knowledge by seeing and playing out a scenario that is almost identical to one that already played out, and only it's echoing. So it is slightly different because we're coming up with new things. So you are in fact a piece, right? And so Penny says, but but when you feel many pieces of you elsewhere, can be, in human words, lonely. Yes. But that's the whole point of it. And that's what people that are evil count on, is that you feel that aloneness here. And therefore they try to project that into your mind even more so with what's going on in the news and around the world. They want to say you're alone, you're only by yourself. That's all there is you, and you're tiny and you're puny and you're worthless and you're helpless and you're hopeless. And that's what they have to drive into you, because then they go, well, I'm in charge. I'm the one who created you. I'm your owner. I'm your God. All that other stuff was just made up. Fact, I made that stuff up to fool you so that you wouldn't know that I was the creator. And that's what they do. And they work on that angle to get you to feel like you're beneath them in some way. So it is, in fact, feels lonely until you can then perceive yourself. Okay. And that's when it becomes less lonely. You have to ascend in being in service to others, to the realization that I am, not I have an immortal soul, but I am the immortal soul. I am the spirit. I am the higher self. And then once you start looking at it from that perspective of I am, you then go, well, then what am I in these other bodies at other time periods on this earth, who I was then? Do I need to know who I was? And that's always good to try and figure out who you were, but it's not as important as what you learned as those. And you had to learn as those individuals, completely different and separate from Penny, say, or Leonard, say, because I am another version of myself who has to be completely autonomous from that. So you gain in knowledge, and here's how the loneliness goes away. You gain in the knowledge that you exist and coexist at the same time with yourselves and other selves and your higher self as one. And that all merges halfway through the sixth density from the past, present, and the future, moving up to the halfway through the sixth density. All of those characteristics and personalities merge in one to your higher self that is anchored halfway through the sixth density. And then from there, that self, who now is one with all of yourselves down here, then starts to merge with other selves of that particular individual that is the collective of everything below it in a higher realm. So I don't want to go too far on that, because you have the same fracturing, or you have the same separation of self and other self in the higher realms, but it's more in the spiritual, and you're losing the physical body. I don't want to go too far into that, but where you learn that you had past lives, and then you can't contact them at first, and you really wish that you could. Then as you expand your consciousness in this third dimension and start moving out of this third dimension, even though you're still in the physical place, you start moving more into your own spiritual and equating yourself with your higher self. Then you will then learn to have access to and communication with your own selves in the past, in who you were as those other distinct personalities, where you will actually be able to communicate with them. And then over time, you will actually be able to realize that you are actually integrated, that aspects of them are what makes up you currently. And once you get to that stage of your ascension, you're seeing that from the perspective of the higher self, from the self in that regard, and realizing that, wait, I am the higher self, and that higher self is in fact all of those personalities into one, and that is in fact me. I am not the pain body. I am not the thinking mind. I am not the ego. I am, there's that word again, I am my higher self. And then you realize what that personality is. And then you realize, once you do that, you look at, these are the people that I were in the past, in history, and you look at their personality traits, and you realize that the current personality trait of Penny has all of those personality traits echoing in her, because you are the collective of all of those personalities into who you are now, and you're individually having an individual experience. And then you are all of those plus you and the ones that come after you, until you reach halfway through the sixth density, and you'll find that from the perspective of I am the spirit, I am the higher self, that those, again, all of those aspects are not individual, but they are the actual personality traits or archetypes of that higher self. and then it begins again. From halfway through the 6th, you're at the bottom of the next run, which starts in the 7th, going into the 8th density, and then you have different personalities going forward again in time, but time ceases to be. So it becomes more relative, and that becomes really complicated when you're down here looking at it from this perspective to understand or understand what goes on up there. That's why we don't focus on that as much when we're trying to help you guys to get to that place, because once you get to that place, you'll be able to perceive that a little bit more. Maybe I should put myself in on the screen here so you can see it. You'll be able to perceive that concept more when you're in that place than when you're down here. Being down here, you have the concept of time, you have the concept of space, you have the concept of oneness, that I am only this body. That's why the Matrix, when it came out in the early 2000s, why they were going like Morpheus said, do you think that's air you're breathing? That was supposed to help you expand your consciousness to the idea that maybe this place isn't what you think it is, and that reality is slightly different, that there is an outside of this place that you can see the perspective of this place from, that makes this place completely different in your mind's eye, and that everything that you think you know is a lie. And that goes to Willow, the movie. Everything you know, everything you think you know, or know that what you think you know, you have to unlearn everything that you have learned. That those are quotes from Yoda and quotes from the wizard in Merlin. So you're having this being played out to expand your consciousness throughout just the last 50 years here in the United States alone, or from Hollywood in the last 50 years. But also here you see it with Hermes, you see it with all of the doctrine, all of the scrolls around the world throughout time, saying the same narratives and the same things. You have to realize that is the common denominator, is the expansion of your consciousness into a new realm, a new belief system, a new knowledge that will shake the foundation of and rock the foundation of your universe, and change the reality, change the way you perceive this place for the rest of your life. You will never be the same again. Okay, let's continue here. Let me get off of full screen and go back into full screen here, and we will continue.
Possess the beginning of immortality. And so then they enter the troop of gods, which is really two troops, one wandering, the other fixed. And this is soul's most perfect glory. But if a soul that has entered into humans remains vicious, it neither tastes immortality nor shares in the good, but turns back and rushes down the road toward the snakes. And this is the sentence pronounced against a vicious soul. The vice of soul is ignorance. For the soul, when it is blind and discerns none of the things that are, nor their nature, nor the good, is shaken by the bodily passions, and the wretched thing becomes, in ignorance of itself, a slave to vile and monstrous bodies, bearing the body like a burden, not ruling, but being ruled. This is the vice of soul. The virtue of soul, by contrast, is knowledge, for one who knows is good and reverent, and already divine. Who is this person, Father?
For traveling and commuting, there's no other bag like this one. It brings peace of mind in a set.
Skip.
One who says little and hears little. He fights with shadows, my son, who wastes time on talking and listening to talk. One neither speaks nor hears of God the Father and the good.
Okay, hold on. Let me pause here because Jamie has a question. Did I miss anybody else before I jump to that? Right. So let me see. Jamie says, please correct me or let me know your thoughts on what I said to Penny. That's what I thought. I was actually scrolling up there to see what you had said that. Okay, so you said, I feel like in this human condition, we might always feel a bit lonely because we desire to be back with the source completely. Just my thoughts. No, absolutely. We feel lonely because at one time we understood. That's very, very astute of you, Jamie, to let me pull myself up in full screen again. That was very astute of you to realize that when we pull away from the creator and we become individual entities, beingnesses, the beings individual, we then become veiled, and therefore we cannot sense the light, we cannot sense the creator, we cannot sense the oneness of even ourself as the higher self, and then we don't even have the concept of the oneness of our higher self with the many selves to be the collective that is the creator itself. So, or the creator their self. So we are away from the light. We fall way down here to this level, and then we have to ascend back, and we have to walk uphill. And that's why I love that Greek philosophy and thought of that shows the naked man, because the Greeks always did everything naked. The naked man pushing a big boulder uphill, and the quote, and I think it was from Herodotus in the Roman, and in the Greek it was I can't think of it right now, so don't get mad, those of you out there around the world that know who the quote came from, that said that. But that when pushing a rock uphill, you I'm paraphrasing now, when pushing a rock uphill, it is only at the top that one can admire or experience the journey, because you can't stop pushing the rock uphill, because you will lose the momentum that you have, and the rock will become too heavy, and it might run you over, or you might not be able to start it again. So as you're going uphill, you can only see the rock in front of you, and you have to keep pushing it, and you can't spend time to stop and look around and smell the roses, because you're ascending. And once you get to the top, you can then reflect on the journey that it took to get to where you are. But you have to get to a place that is a place where it can rest, where it's level ground, and that's usually at the top. So when you're going uphill, so when you're in the journey, it's hard and difficult to see why the journey is so important. So until you can pull away from this place and all that you're seeing with the blinders on that you have to see this place with, because you are in fact veiled, you can sense it in your bones, you're lonely, and you know there's something else that you're missing, and that is separated from you, that you're separated from, and you feel that, and it hurts your soul and it hurts your heart. And sometimes you feel that when you're on earth with a person. I'm going through that right now, because my wife was here and now she is back in Australia, and I'm here in the United States still taking care of things here to then go over there. And she's over there, getting us a house, and has us a car. And literally right now she's out getting things for the house, and she's taking care of that. And now we're separated by 7,000 miles again. Because of that, we're missing each other, because we can't feel each other as much. We feel the loss of the other self. That is what we would consider our oneness in being together. So her and I are constantly talking, and we can see each other on camera, but we can't touch, and that sucks. And it's almost like being in a prison. The same concept is playing out on this place to the creator, or this place to your higher self, which is halfway back to the creator, and then that self to the creator. And you're lonely down here because you can only perceive yourself, but then you start to perceive that there are more of you, but you can't make contact with those other selves that are you from the past and the future until you can. And so that was very astute of you, Jamie, that is why it's because we're lonely here, because we start to learn that there's more of us. And then what is that, and why can't I feel it? And then when you start to feel that more of myself, then you realize that self is even in and of itself is a piece of a greater self. And how many times does that happen before you get back to joining back with the creator itself, or their self, or ourselves, when we become one? And so that is like freaking us out when we're down here and we start thinking about it. But that drives us ever forward. It drives us to continue on that path forward, to eliminate that loss. And we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can see that, wait, there is that there. And if I keep pushing forward, keep pushing that rock uphill, I know that there's a top to the hill, because everyone has said that there is. I can't see it right now because the rock is in the way. I can't see it right now because the matrix is in the way. The matrix is the rock that you're pushing, and you have to get it out of the way, but you can't get it out of the way because you can't stop pushing until you reach that precipice, or you reach that zenith at the top, and then you can look around the rock and stop it and go, whoo, this rock's not moving now, I'm good. And you can then look back and go, look at that, I made it all the way. Wow, I didn't realize that hill was so steep, and that hill was so long. I just kept pushing, but I made it. And now what? where from here do I go? Is it up? Is it left? Is it right? I don't know, but I can look around now and I can have some peace for a moment and I can see those things. And now I can see that the light that I was looking at, that I was climbing to before, was a little speck, and now it's bigger and brighter. And what's going to happen when I get closer? Your perception changes of the universe itself. When you ascend, it changes. You're not locked into the matrix only. If you're self-serving, you only see this place. You only care about this place because you only care about yourself and how much money you have and power you have and whatever, because that's what you believe in your entire universe is this little place. Okay, let me put this back up in full screen and we will continue. Wait, Penny said something. Peter said, when I go to Australia, you should seek out, or when you go to Australia, you seek out Bo James. Yes, I will. I know that he's over there, and I will, right? Depending on what part of Australia. There's a bunch of people that I want to go see over there when I get there that are Australian, that Reese for one, and Rick for another, who's not here today, and many other people who are Australian that are friends there, Peter. But I agree. I'm going to do just that. Penny says, I have always had my higher self to talk to, but how do I tell people that you talk to your other voice in your head, right? There's some people you can't say that to. When I was a boy, my father would come to me and he'd proverbially say to me, the first rule of Fight Club is you cannot talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is you cannot talk about Fight Club. So because people won't understand that, they can't understand it because they're living veiled, living in the flesh only, those people will never accept that you're doing that. Even if you are doing it, you'll learn quickly who you cannot tell that stuff to, because they will ridicule you, they will attack you, they will call you, crazy, they will say these things about you. So you learn quickly to keep that to yourself, and then you find kindred spirits, you find other people like yourself that believe in that, and then you can talk to them about that. That's why I keep saying, and the people like me say, that when you're ascending, your circle of friends gets smaller and smaller. Don't be distraught by that, because those friends that your circle that is smaller are going to be better friends than any of those other people that you did count as friends or family before. And then you realize that they're self-serving, and therefore you have to cut them out of your life because there is no place for that anymore. And you have to realize that it's cut and dry. You're either good or you're evil, or the other way around. You're left hand being evil and right hand being good. You're self-serving on the left hand side or in service to others, the right hand side, and therefore you start associating more with, say, the in service to others if you choose that path, and therefore you have to cut out the in service to self people, because you no longer in any way vibe with them in their energy, and they will hate you and detest you because you are the opposite of them. So now, like magnets, you will repel each other, and you will be drawn to the people who are like-minded, like a magnet, again, drawn to them because you're more alike. Same goes if you choose to be in service to self. You're going to repel the people and be repelled by the people who are in service to others, and be drawn to the people who are in service to self. And it's designed to be that way on purpose. Okay, so let's continue. Yes, it's just what happens. You just have to learn to accept that and learn to look always forward in your journey. And that way, instead of looking to the past of what you have lost or what you don't have anymore, you look at what you're gaining from that. And this is why those of us who do this teach you that. You look at what you're gaining, not what you've lost. The second you forget about and not worry about what you lost, the more that you will then accept what you are gaining. And what you are gaining is far more important and far more beautiful than what you have lost, because you're shedding that which is the flesh, that which is self-serving. And self-serving beings, self-serving people, you're shedding that off for service to others. And the other way around, if you're in self-service, then you're shedding off those people that are annoying to you, and you're going to be more and more inclined to follow the path of being in self-serving, and you're going to be more abusive and more controlling and more power hungry and more greedy, because that's the only way that you gain anything and gain power, is by doing that and attacking people and destroying their careers, whatever you need to do, manipulating people, because that's the downloads that you're going to get on that side. Okay, let's continue here.
This being so, that there are senses in all things that are, because they cannot exist without them. Yet knowledge differs greatly from sensation, for sensation comes when the object prevails. while knowledge is the goal of learning, and learning is a gift from God. For all learning is incorporeal, using as instrument the mind itself, as mind uses body.
Okay, so all knowledge comes from God, and all knowledge is corporeal, non-corporeal, meaning non-physical. So true knowledge in the universe only comes from the Creator, and enlightenment comes from the Creator, but it only comes to you if you are in service to others. How many times have you heard people say that in the modern day? Here's Hermes Trismegistus writing this thousands of years ago. Identical to what we say today. Some would immediately say, that's because you must have read that, Leo, and that's why you adopted that. So you wouldn't have known that concept if Hermes had said it. The truth is, everyone said it in every religion or every scroll or every philosophical thought or every, you can't say 100% every single thing. However, it is in there. The Bible code proved that it is in there. If you look at the Bible code back in the 2000s, early 2000s, between 2000 and 2010, 2015, when they were really working on that, and it was prevalent in the, in the world, and you were seeing that more readily, experiments and the debate of that. You can look up all those videos and you can watch them and the debate on that. And you see that is throughout time, that code is in everything. Therefore, it is the cyclical nature of nature. It is the nature of the beast, and it is in everything. And that's going back to chapter 8 and 9 here, when everything was because of the Creator. And even though the Creator didn't create certain things at certain levels, the Creator created them who created those things were created by the Creator or by someone who the Creator created to allow you to have that free will to do that. So it may not have been the actual Creator who created the human race, but it was a beingness that was created and had the free will to create by the Creator, and then created a subspecies or a sub-logos, sub-logos, down to creating the human existence. But then you have people that are self-serving in 3D, claiming to be those who created the human race, so that they can come down and abuse the human race and bend them to their will. I created you. If you watched like The Fourth Kind with Mila Jovovich, which was loosely based on reality, in that there were actual events that that movie was actually truly based on in reality. I've read all of those experiments or those investigations that Bud Hoskins wrote, that you can look that stuff up and read the books like Missing Time and Intruders and things like that. There's like 4 or 5 books where all of that happened in Nome, Alaska, and that became the movie The Fourth Kind, were part of his investigation into what's going on. And that has to do with, this alien entity that said, we created you, we can do whatever we want with you. Again, taking credit for, and I personally know of, I know this sounds crazy to some of you, I personally know of 7 distinct alien races who claimed that they created the human race. Individually, not we worked with other races to create you. And then you hear people saying the human race was created from 7 distinct genomes that were donated to create this humanoid race, and it was done in a petri dish somewhere, right? So there's the difference between, if you're looking at things from the perspective of the flesh in 3D, or you're looking at things from the perspective of the spiritual. In the flesh, it looks like somebody who had a petri dish in the physical plane, and they created this species that is the Homo sapiens sapien, and that we have some alien who's out there somewhere who is to be thanked for creating this human genome. And then in the spiritual, you have entities who may have created the human race, who were not in fact corporeal, who were non-corporeal, who created the human condition, and that was something that was created by the Creator to do so. Why? Because in the spiritual, you believe in the Creator, because you'll learn that knowledge that's not going to come from a book or a script or a scroll. It's going to come from the universe itself. And this is why we tell people this, because when you look at, again, I should be on full screen. When you look at the knowledge throughout time that is out there for the universe to tell you, the knowledge that is there in all these scripts, these scriptures, these books, these tomes, these religions all around the world from different times, and how they all kind of coincide with the same knowledge, and everybody keeps looking for the oldest scroll that they all copied from, and it looks like they copied from these guys and that guys and these guys, and that we just got to find that one that was ancient and more ancient. So burn those trees down, knock them down, because we got to find that forest that is, there's going to be one tree somewhere, get those trees out of our way, and there's going to be the one tree that's going to tell me the story. And every time they find a scroll, they're like, oh, look, it looks like it came from another place, let's go there. And instead of actually going, but what is it that they're all saying? What is it they all have in common? What is that you're saying that they all copied off of each other? And why is it that they found that that information was so important that they copied it off of each other? No one does that. They all just keep looking for a different scroll, like they're going to find a different information. And they always do that, and they always keep looking for an older information, and it's always the same information. Why is it always the same information? Who are these people? Are they, in fact, all getting it from a scroll and copying it and changing something slightly? And then now those people got it from a scroll that was a slightly different, and they changed it, and that's just going to go on for infinity? Or should we wonder, what is the message they're getting? And what is the message they're saying? Because all of them are saying this information is universal, and you get it from the universe itself. And that when you expand your consciousness, you learn all of these things. So the thing that is in common in the message that all of them throughout time are saying is that you unlock this information because it comes from the universe. But if you're looking in the physical for a physical scroll, you will never look for that information, because you keep knowing there's got to be another scroll that's going to be slightly different. And we're going to find a different one that's going to be different. And it's going to keep tracing back, and it's going to be slightly different. And it is slightly different. Why? Because they change it to make it fit the city, the time, the peoples that they are trying to enlighten. So they change the name of the gods and the places and the times to fit their religion that they have, but to teach them the same knowledge. And so people ignore the knowledge, because those people who are ignoring that knowledge are living in the flesh, and they're looking for money, and they get money by continuing to look for the puzzle pieces and coming up with new bits to keep doing that. They keep getting money for their entire existence, and they keep getting fame and power and glory for being the one who's going around digging this stuff up, and they have a career for all of their lives, and they never care about what the message is, because they're caring about money, power, fame, and glory. Okay, so let's continue here. So they'll never find the answers, because they're not looking for the answers. They're looking for a paycheck, and they always have been. All right, let's continue.
Both enter into body then, the mental and the material. For everything must be the product of opposition and contrariety, and it cannot be otherwise. Who is this material God then? The cosmos, which is beautiful, but not good. For it is material and easily affected, and of all those things that feel affect, it is foremost. But among the things that are, it is secondary and incomplete in itself. Once it has come to be, it exists forever, but it exists in becoming and comes to be forever as the becoming of qualities and quantities. For it is subject to movement, and every motion of matter is becoming. The immobility of mind initiates the motion of matter in this way, since the cosmos is a sphere, a head that is. And since there is nothing material above the head, just as there is nothing of mind below the feet, where all is matter, and since mind is a head which is moved spherically, in the manner of a head that is, things joined to the membrane of this head, in which is the soul, are by nature immortal, as if they have more soul than body, because body has been made in soul. Things far away from the membrane, however, are mortal, because they have more body than soul. Thus, every living being, and likewise the universe, has been constituted of the material and the mental.
Okay, so as below, so above, the material and the mental. As within, so without, the material and the mental. So a dual aspect of your oneness, of your beingness, the dual aspect of your beingness, that it becomes your totality, is that which you are. You are in the physical plane and in the spiritual plane. Upper 3 chakras, spiritual plane, lower 3 chakras, physical plane, the heart chakra, which rules them all, the one ring to rule them all. Okay, so that is the Vesica Pisces, the yin and the yang, that spot where both exist, the lower, the darkness, the masculine, the upper, the light, the feminine, and they both reside in the heart because they both feel love. They both experience love. Those who are in service to self love themselves above all what they love. They love the self. Those who are in the upper chakras and reside there in the upper chakras, mostly in the illumination, you love others. You still love, but you now love others. Do you see? So that which is created by the Creator is in the flesh and in the spiritual. You cannot have one without the other. So it's dual aspect. You are a dual aspect. You are a physical being and a spiritual being at the same time. And you are residing in 2 places. One is a dimension, physicality, 3rd dimension, and one is a density, non-physical, non-corporeal, spiritual place, which is the density where your soul resides, where your spirit resides. Okay, so you have that, and that's your higher self and the self down here. So you have that dual aspect of yourself. And here it is being told to you from thousands of years ago, exactly the same thing, that is knowledge that people have gained all over the world of the self and other self, or the self and the self-self, or the self-serving self, that the choice is yours to make that when you're in this place, to be one or the other, and that you then ascend either in service to self or in service to others in an upward motion, either becoming more evil or becoming more holy or more good, or gooder, better. So you have to realize that, and here you see that being played out once again. So let me go back here in full screen here, and we'll continue with the Hermetica, or the Hermeticum, the Corpus Hermeticum.
And the cosmos is first. But after the cosmos, the second living thing is the human, who is first of mortal beings, and like other living things, has ensoulment.
The Achua people of the Amazon, they communicate in their dreams. So they literally use...
Moreover, the human is not only not good, but because he is mortal, he is evil as well. For the cosmos is not good because it moves, yet because it is immortal, it is not evil.
See, so meaning in the flesh, living in the flesh is evil. Not living in the flesh, living in the spirit is good, right? So the human in this regard, them saying here, a human was not saying all humans, then that because you're in a human body, you're evil. That's not what that meant. That meant the physicality. This is the nature of the beast, right? The number of the beast. The beast is the human condition. 666 is the number of the beast. That's 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons. That is the building blocks that makes this corporeal body. You can look that up. So we are the beast, the physical beast. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. It is 666. For it is, and this is where the translation is wrong. If you listen to the translation now, it says, before it is a human number. It is a number of man, is what the condition was with the original translation. Meaning it is the number of man, meaning it is the number of the building blocks of this condition of this place, and it is. So when you look at this 3rd dimensional reality, what is the building blocks of this 3rd dimensional reality but 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons? Those 666 makes this place, and then there's differences in those, that slight differences that change, the molecule from being my hand to my forehead, or me from this wall, or me from the computer. But it's all the same, and that's why, like Carl Sagan said, we're all created from stardust, because we are, and that's what the truth is of that. So the human being evil in this respect here in this section is not saying that all humans are inherently evil, but that the condition of humans is what the universe is considering living in the flesh, which is human, which is evil, because living in the flesh is self-serving. So if you believe in this place and you live of that place, in that place, then you will become self-serving. If you move into the spiritual and start living in the astral, non-physical, non-corporeal, but in the light body, in that place, then you will become holy because you're becoming more like God. And that's what they're saying here. So let me go back into full screen here and we'll continue, okay?
But the human, because he moves and is mortal, is evil. A human soul is carried in this way. The mind is in the reason is in the soul is in the spirit passing through veins and arteries and blood, moves the living thing, and, in a manner of speaking, bears it up. Some hold, therefore, that the soul is blood, mistaking its nature.
See, and that is right there, in and of itself, is synonymous with many cultures around the world believing that their bloodletting and killing people and draining their blood would bring the gods back, because they believed that the essence of your life force was in your blood. Vampires drinking your blood to gain power, and that's where that comes from, where people believe that the essence of your life force is in your blood because your physical body without the blood cannot survive. So if you're living in the flesh, you're going to believe that the blood is essential, and without the blood in the body, if you take the blood out of the body, you'll die, because the body it'll starve. It cannot function without the blood being in there. So people then tended to believe that, and this is literally Hermes thousands of years ago saying this, and saying this was wrongful thinking, that it wasn't that, because your essence isn't in the blood. Joseph Campbell, again, when talking about that, said you can take the human condition, the brain itself. People say that we are this pink matter, that it was gray matter, actually, this gray matter that is the brain, in that we have memories in specific places in the brain. Where are these memories? When the person dies, can you go there and unlock them and find them? Where is the person who was in this physical body? Are they are they here in the brain in this place? Or are they there in the brain? Or are they there in the brain? And you can look for the brain and look through the brain all that you want and dissect the brain, and you will never find that beingness that was there, that is no longer there when they die, because they are not in there anymore. And it's not that thing died, and that's why it is because the body died, and therefore the personality that was there is now gone. And so some people say it doesn't go anywhere, it just goes into nothingness. However, and that's people who live in the flesh who think that. However, if you look at the different theories, especially the holographic universe, which has now evolved for hundreds of years, into them realizing, because of our computers, that some of our reality that they're seeing in space is actually very similar to a computer program, like what you're seeing on your screen or hearing with your ears right now, that is a simulation, because I'm transmitting and it's going to a Wi-Fi, and then going to the Wi-Fi, and it's shooting to a cell tower, and then shooting up into space into a satellite dish, and then that's dispersing and repeating and getting throwing all over the world into other satellites, and then down to wherever you're attached and listening to me, going to a device there, and then going to a Wi-Fi, and you're picking it up from an application that you are listening to me on or seeing me on, and then it's translating for you. Do you see? So in the physical place, there's the physicality but there's a duality of that's not my essence. In the brain, and it works the same way, and that's why I use that parable. In the brain, we have synapses in our brain that are like satellite dishes, that are repeaters that amplify the signal and send it to another repeater that sends it to another one, and it expands out and then focuses on one place. For many places for people to access. And our brain works the same way on glia cells. The glia cells are those repeaters, and the more glia cells, the more ganglia you have, the more your brain works more efficient, and you have a higher IQ because of it. So the more neural network you have, the smarter you are. The same thing with the more satellites we have around our planet, the more we can communicate with each other on a mass scale. So we have a hive mind complex. The Earth itself and all of our satellites is basically a floating brain that is now out there that we're bouncing all of our information off all over the world, just the same as if we were one single thought, my human beingness being one single thought inside the mind of the collective consciousness of the humans on Earth, and that the internet is access to the collective information that is flying around from little teeny individuals to repeater towers, cell towers, up to a satellite, and then bouncing across to all these other satellites for people to access. It's the same neural network that we have set up as a planetary body around the sphere that is like a head that is slightly outside of that gray matter, but contained in that gray matter, in and out of that gray matter, going around. So literally the human condition individually down here, as above, so below, down here in the microcosm, I have a brain that's functioning in exactly the way that the macrocosm of the Earth and the satellites of Earth and our electronic communications of Earth is actually doing. And me, my personality, can access the memories in my brain and call those up and to search for things in my brain. And then me, as that personality, can access the computer, the collective consciousness of the Earth, which is the internet, and I can look and tap into what everybody else in the world is saying. So the microcosm to the macrocosm, and then we, as the solar system here, that is the Sol solar system, the planet Earth and the sun, are doing the same thing, part of a neural network that is the Milky Way galaxy. And we at some point will have access through telescopes. We're starting to have that access to see the other neural networks. And we're discovering that there is, in fact, a neural network that is identical to a human brain, which I show a picture of, a radial image of both on the intro to my show. Every time my show comes on, if you watch the MP4 file, you're going to see a radial image of a human brain cell and a radial image of the universe. And they're identical, except for the universe has far more glia cells than the human brain does. The microcosm, human brain, to the macrocosm, universe, Milky Way galaxy. And then the Milky Way galaxy is one repeater that is the collective consciousness of the many repeaters that is going to communicate with other universes in a giant, larger neural network. Do you see? So everything as below, so above. It moves up and it expands and gets larger and larger, but it still is the same. In their perspective of where you are in your consciousness is going to determine what you can and can't see as what is beneath you or what is above you. And you find out that the higher up you go, the more you're realizing that when you look around, you're seeing the exact same scenario playing out on a larger and larger scale. And that scale becomes smaller and smaller to you because you're collectively turning into a hive mind complex that is now communicating with another hive mind complex. And you forget that you're a hive mind complex and become one entity communicating with the other entities. And then those start to merge at a higher level. And then those will merge at a higher level. And at some point above that, we will merge back with the mind of the creator itself. I hope that blew your mind for a minute. Think about that. So everything is the same. It's the cyclical nature of the universe, and it's exactly the same down here as it is in the midway and up there. So everything down here acts the same way, single cell organisms. Then you have multiple cell organisms, and then you have multiple, then that the building blocks gets bigger and bigger, and it becomes more complicated, but then it becomes something else. And that something else becomes a single cell in my hand or my knuckle or my finger. And that is a single cell in this entire body that makes up this single cell body that is existing in this reality. Do you see? So everything all the way down and all the way up has the exact same cyclical nature and is contained within a certain distance before it merges with a collective consciousness and becomes one. And that one is one of many that eventually becomes one when it merges with that one. And then it keeps on going. How far that goes and how many times that does, merging back on, together, we can't fathom down here. But once eventually we sense and know that eventually we're going to become the creator of the known universe and be in the mind of that creator. Okay, let's continue. And how do we know that? We know that because that is the downloads that we all get as we ascend. And we have that information because that knowledge comes to us, whether you read these books or these scrolls or not. One day, if you're in service to others, that knowledge will be unlocked within you irregardless of to what you have learned in your life or read in your life, scrolls or books or listening to videos or listening to me. If you were a hermit and you lived in a cave and you went down that path of being in service to others, you would start unlocking the same knowledge and eventually come to the same conclusion, irregardless to any influence from outside influence from anything that at all or no influence, you will still know the same knowledge, because all of the knowledge that you gain is universal and it comes from the universe itself, not from a scroll that some other human wrote or some alien handed to a human.
And not seeing that the spirit must first be withdrawn into the soul, and then, when the blood thickens and the veins and arteries are emptied, this destroys the living thing, and this is the death of the body. All things depend from one beginning, but the beginning depends from the one and only, and the beginning moves so that it can again become a beginning. Only the one, however, stands still.
Okay, see, so again, here, what I just said, everything that I just said, described to you in the different ways that I described it to you, is being described to you exactly here, right? And only the one, however, stands still, and all
does not move.
Does not move.
There are these three then: God the Father and the good, the cosmos, and the human. And God holds the cosmos, but the cosmos holds the human. And the cosmos becomes the son of God, but the human becomes the son of the cosmos, a grandson, as it were.
Logos, sub-logos, sub-sub-logos. Okay, so you hear this being said in the Law of One, and then some people would say, well, obviously Carla, who was just read this book and was copying that, and people who live in the physical plane will deny that any of these messages mean anything whatsoever. They're all just copied from another message. And then you have those people saying, we got to go find that scroll, which is different from these scrolls. And they come to find out that the only difference is semantical things for the city at the time, for the people at the location, that was changed so that those people would have a familiar name and a familiar story, but everything else is identical.
For God does not ignore mankind. On the contrary, he recognizes him fully and wishes to be recognized. For mankind, this is the only deliverance, the knowledge of God. It is ascent to Olympus. A soul becomes good only in this way, though it is not good forever, but becomes evil. By necessity, it becomes so. What do you mean, O Trismegistus? Envision the soul of a child.
See, we'll have to stop there, and I'll back up a minute or two, because it is 6 p.m. my time, and I'm going to have to go. So I'm going to write down this time, and then we'll back up slightly, because now we're going to be going into more of the theory of this, and we won't be able to finish this chapter today. So let me put this in here, and we'll stop it at, we'll do 1:30, 1 minute 30, or 1 hour, 30 minutes, right? And so I'll put that down as where we are, 1 hour, 30 minutes even, okay? And that's where we'll pick up, and I might even back up a little bit more next week, since we covered most of that, maybe I won't, because I can always cover it quickly and then go from there. But I think we need to stop there because it is 6 p.m. I need to get my mother bathed because she hasn't had a diaper change in 3 hours, and then I need to get some dinner. So I love you guys. We'll pick it up next week from right there at the 1 hour, 30 minute mark, and we'll continue, and that'll be on chapter 10. That'll be the part 4, starting at and halfway through chapter 10 or so, and we'll continue from there. So I love you guys. I hope you guys have a great night. Right? Penny said, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you, Leo. You're welcome. Thank you, Penny, for coming in. You guys have a great night. This has been Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week.